wasted my time with
Ready to tackle that building project? Start right. Start here at H&L Rapid True Value for building supplies. The time by H&L Rapid True Value is
Nationwide time, 5 o'clock.
News at 5 teasers are brought to you by Advanced Scales and Equipment. Service is our total commitment.
From the Nationwide News Network, comprehensive, incisive, tough. This is Nationwide at 5.
Good afternoon, I'm Robianne Williams.
And I'm Mahiri Stewart.
In Nationwide News at this hour, Information Minister Dr. Dana Morris-Dixon says the government has done long-term planning in the event of a country pulling foreign aid like the USAID.
We've been putting together our plans in terms of whether or not countries change their position on aid.
The mother of a St. Thomas woman killed and dumped near her home in Golden Valley says her daughter's confessed killer helped the family search for her.
And he's a wicked man. I can't believe Grandma would really do that. Honest to God.
The Agriculture Ministry is to increase the number of catchment facilities across the island this year.
NWC clarifies its coverage and responsibility for water and sewerage services following protests.
In news from the rest of the world, a Trinidad court grants Erla Herwood Christopher leave to challenge her suspension as police commissioner.
U.S. officials now say Trump only wants to displace Palestinians from Gaza temporarily.
In headline sports, Captain John Campbell slams impressive century for Jamaica Scorpions in regional 4-day game against the Leeward Hurricanes.
And later in our broadcast, Wednesday, February 5, 2025, in our cover story at 5:35, since the start of the year, the JCF has imposed several curfews in sections of Manchester, Clarendon, Kingston, and St. Andrew in response to criminal activities. Is the continued use of curfews effective? Professor of Sustainable Development at the Mona campus of the University of the West Indies, Anthony Clayton, will join us.
In Public Opinion at 6:26, we ask, what's your reaction to the Bob Marley One Love soundtrack winning Best Reggae Album of the Year? Give us your comments by logging on to our Facebook page, Nationwide News Network, and by tweeting us at Nationwide Radio, and message us on WhatsApp at 876-285-5693. You can also leave your comments on Instagram at Nationwide 90FM.
In the nation's business at 6:40, the soundtrack for the Bob Marley One Love movie won this year's Best Reggae Album at the Grammy Awards. Is it time to break away from the Marley's influence at the Grammys? We'll hear from Professor of Culture, Gender and Society at the UWI Mona, Donna Hope, and cultural commentator Clyde Mackenzie.
At 7, human rights lobby group Jamaicans for Justice, JFJ, is again pressing for an update on the status of a joint select committee tasked with reviewing the Domestic Violence Act. Their policy research and advocacy manager, Jade Williams, will join us.
And at 8, it's Boyatings After Dark with Kareem Boyatings Weathers.
All these and more as we take you home on air on your mobile, Nationwide 90FM, NationwideRadioJM.com, and on the Nationwide app available on Google Play and the App Store. This Wednesday afternoon, Wednesday, February 5, 2025.
News at 5 teasers were brought to you by Advanced Scales and Equipment. Service is our total commitment.
If it's news, it's got to be Nationwide 90 FM.
Now the details. Minister with Responsibility for Information, Senator Dr. Dana Morris-Dixon, says the government has done long-term planning in the event of a country pulling foreign aid. The minister was responding to a question concerning the future of local initiatives following the Trump administration's decision to restructure the United States Agency for International Development, USAID. Mahiri Stewart has that story.
A move by the Trump administration to seize its international funding for 90 days is to impact Jamaica. This is being done by restructuring the United States Agency for International Development, USAID. This was an independent agency of the U.S. government, primarily responsible for administering civilian foreign aid and development assistance. The agency's website has been scrubbed from the internet, while its workers worldwide are expected to take leave starting Friday. It's understood that USAID's work with the Jamaican government has primarily focused on citizen security, disaster resilience, and healthcare. It had funded several projects through a number of ministries and non-governmental agencies. Questions now abound about the future of those local projects in light of USAID's withdrawal. The concern was put to Minister with Responsibility for Information, Dr. Dana Morris Dixon, at Wednesday's post-cabinet media briefing. She told journalists that the government has prepared itself for scenarios in which projects funded from other countries are pulled.
There's been long-term planning. We've been putting together our plans in terms of whether or not, countries may change their position on aid. And we've seen this in history before. We've seen changes in policies. And so we've gone through this before. And so as a government, we are very much aware of the possibility of changes in foreign policy posture. And what we do is we plan for it. But we also believe there are opportunities that may present themselves. Foreign aid is a tool of foreign policy. So we will work with our Minister of Foreign Affairs leading to look at where there are opportunities for Jamaica. And we remain a strong and reliable partner of the United States and all of our major trading partners, and that's not going to change.
Dr. Morris Dixon is also the Minister of Education. She revealed that 3 projects within her ministry were backed by USAID.
Obviously, the USAID has been a real partner of Jamaica for a long time and continues to be. We see it as continuing to be a partner of Jamaica. And in the Ministry of Education, we have benefited over a long period of time from a lot of their support. And I had spoken to the PS and we were looking at what programs were actually in train currently. And we had about 3 programs that were in train. So USAID has definitely had impact in our country and across many different ministries.
Minister Morris Dixon says the government's push for economic independence has proven to be the right call in light of the decision by the Trump administration.
It's important that Jamaicans remember that there's nobody coming to our rescue. We have to be independent, and our Prime Minister has been saying this. And if you look at our economic policies, it has all been linked to that. So as we see issues like this and maybe some disruption in some of the aid that we got, we also have to juxtapose it with what we've been doing over the last several years as a country to get our economy right and get us into a state where we can more declare economic independence. Again, nobody's coming to rescue us.
Mahiri Stewart for Nationwide News.
The mother of a St. Thomas woman who was killed and dumped near their home in Golden Valley in the parish says her daughter's confessed killer helped the family search for the missing woman. Roshni Bonfield, a mother and a customer service representative, went missing on Sunday, January 26. Her naked body was found the following day in a gully. 49-year-old farmer Cecil Stewart, otherwise called Grubber, has confessed to the crime. Stewart was Bonfield's neighbor. Tana Thomas spoke with her mother, Christine Liking, and filed this report.
Roshni Bonfield is affectionately called Denisha in Golden Valley. On Sunday, January 26, the 28-year-old left her home at about 3:30 p.m. to visit a neighboring community. Later that afternoon, a resident saw her bag and mobile phone along a roadway near her home. Her mother, Christine Liking, who was in Portland, received a phone call alerting her to the chilling find.
He said, Christine, I said, well, come now. I don't think I can go town. He said, why? He said, something bad happened to Denisha. He said, what happened bad to Denisha? Denisha gone to hospital, Denisha sick, Denisha. What happened to Denisha? He said, them find her bag round at the corner and her bag shop pop off, the phone, and her purse with her money.
Ms. Liking says she rushed back to St. Thomas and filed a missing persons report at the Bath police station. She says when she arrived in her community, a crowd of concerned residents and the police had gathered to conduct a search. Among the crowd of onlookers was her daughter's neighbor, 49-year-old farmer Cecil Stewart, otherwise called Grubber. She says he was one of the persons who ran over to give her support.
So when I come out of the van, but I feel so weak, and I like me go drop. And the same man who live near me and Grubber, and him hold my bag. He said, Christine, if me did day here, it wouldn't happen. I said, which part you did there? Him turned to me and said, go and daughter, go eat dinner. And that him tell the whole crowd, the police, somebody did on the scene, and everybody say, him go and daughter, go eat dinner. And a long time, go eat no dinner.
Ms. Liking says Stewart then proceeded to help the community and police search for her daughter.
He might help the man, them a search and a search. When them say them a go search, down in the gully where them find him, he personally tell them, say, don't go down in the cat and search it out already. So them couldn't find him. To how him act, to how him operate and help them search, nobody could have pitched that there, see him.
The efforts to find Miss Bondfield on Sunday proved futile. A second search on Monday would lead to the frightening discovery in a gully below where Stewart resides. Miss Bondfield was found face down in bushes, and her clothes were missing. Ms. Liking says the accused has allegedly told the police that her daughter's clothes were thrown in a river. On Tuesday, January 28, Stewart turned himself into the police, accompanied by his attorney. He was formally charged with murder on Thursday, January 30, after reportedly confessing to the crime. The JCF has credited diligent investigating and assistance from concerned residents for the swift breakthrough in the case. It's not yet known if a motive has been established for the murder.
He's a wicked man. I can't believe Grabba would really do that. Honest to God.
Tona Thomas for Nationwide News.
Agriculture Minister Floyd Green says the ministry intends to increase the number of catchment facilities across the island this year. This as the government seeks to address the inadequate supply of water facing farmers during the dry season.
Over the last 3 years, we've done about 29. And again, this is a combination between working with private individuals, as I told you, the strategy. They do the excavation, we provide the pond liners, and community groups. We want to double that number this year, so we want to do what we've done in 3 years, we want to do that in 1 year. We already have programmed. So a lot of the pond liner money that I identified, and we have about 17 million in pond liner from the government, and thankfully JCF is going to be helping us with another 13 million for pond liner. That will help us to reach maybe another 15 or so farmers, and then we're going to earmark at least to do another 15 or more. Ideally and definitely, we're in the budget cycle now, but it's one of the main areas of focus, so I definitely want to double the numbers.
Minister Green says 11 catchment ponds were installed last year.
Last year, we did over 11 catchment ponds, and it's a mix between individuals where they do the excavation and the ministry still rather provides them with a pond liner, or communities where the community comes together, identifies an area, wants to serve in multiple farmers, then the ministry comes in, we do the entire excavation and preparation. So we did that in Hindstown, in St. Anne, where we have a number of farmers in that belt. We're doing that now in New Pen, in St. Mary, where again, we come in, we do the excavation. In some instances where the topography is helpful, we do drainage that leads into the pond. And that is helping. So it's 11 catchments that we did last year.
Floyd Green, Minister of Agriculture. In his presentation to the House of Representatives on Tuesday, Minister Green says several parishes are already expecting lower than expected rainfall.
The National Water Commission NWC says it provides sewage services to only 35% of the corporate area and has less than 25% island-wide coverage. NWC shared the data in response to a protest in Waltham Park, St. Andrew on Monday. Khalesia Wright reports.
Residents in the Waltham Park area burned debris and used old appliances to block roads to highlight poor sewerage services and deteriorating road conditions. In response, the NWC said it was not responsible for the sewage issues. In a release earlier on Wednesday, the Commission says it is only responsible to collect, transport, and treat sewage in areas where it operates a central sewerage system. For the corporate area, that is only 35% of the space. This contrasts with the 99% coverage for potable water. The NWC says its mandate is specific to areas or locations where it operates a system and provides a service for which customers are billed. It says where it only offers potable water, customers are only billed for water services. By extension, customers are only billed for sewerage services in the areas where the NWC has a central sewerage network and provides a sewerage service. The NWC says in areas where it does not operate a central sewerage system, managing and maintaining on-site wastewater systems such as septic tanks and soak-away pits is the responsibility of the property owner or occupier. Meanwhile, in a move to further distance itself from responsibility in the Waltham Park issue, the NWC says residents often mistake stagnant stormwater for sewage overflows. It says stormwater accumulation often results from drainage issues unrelated to the Commission's operations. Khaleesi Wright for Nationwide News.
You're listening to Nationwide News at 5. More news after these.
Value Drug Pharmacy offers curbside pickup and delivery of your branded and generic drugs. WhatsApp your prescription to 876-881-6695. The time by Value Drug Pharmacy is
5:15.
Rentokil Initial offers air purification solutions with triple filtration and unique auto-sensing capabilities that neutralizes malodor and replaces it with clean air. Call Rentokil Initial at 926-4236 for more details.
The temperature by Rentokil is...
It's 31 degrees in Kingston, 28 in Montego Bay.
Home is closer than you think when you save towards your dream home with the Homeowner Savings Plan or HOSP from CIBC Caribbean. With HOSP, you unlock preferential interest rates to earn more interest on your savings and pay less with a discounted mortgage rate. You can even borrow up to an additional US $5,000 or its equivalent to help you with your closing costs. Get home faster when you save the HOSP way with CIBC.
Continuing the news, Chairman of the Clarendon Municipal Corporation, Joel Williams, will continue as Mayor of May Pen. Local Government Minister Desmond McKenzie says he received the legal confirmation from the Attorney General and Solicitor General.
On the subject whether the mayor can be removed because of a by-election result, the Attorney General and the Solicitor General have advised that Clause 32 of the Local Governance Act clearly lays out what happens when a tie occurs after a by-election. Where there is a tie in the political representation following a by-election, person who occupies the chair as chairperson before the by-election remains as the chairperson after the by-election. Additionally, Clause 19 of the Act states that the tenure of the chairperson of a municipal corporation lasts from one local government election to the next.
Minister McKenzie made the announcement as tensions continue between the PNP and JLP councillors over which side is to lead the corporation. The 22-division Clarendon Municipal Corporation is evenly split with the PNP and JLP both having 11 seats. This after the PNP's Delroy Dawson regained control of the Ainon Town Division, which he won in last year's November 22 by-election. Dawson defeated the JLP's Suzette Barton by 54 votes. But the PNP won the popular vote in the February 2024 local government elections. The party with the popular vote usually decides who should be selected as mayor. But the JLP caucus insists that there is a nuance with the law once the mayor has already been installed. Councillor Williams was already installed as mayor before the November by-elections. Minister McKenzie says the mayor can only be removed through a no-confidence motion 1 year after the last election.
The only way in which that chairperson can be removed between island-wide local government election is if a no-confident motion supported by the majority of all councillors in the municipality no sooner than 12 months after the date of the last local government election. With the legal position being clearly expressed, I'm expecting that the outbursts and the disruption of the Clarendon Municipal Corporation will come to an end, and that the needs of the people in their respective divisions will occupy the attention of all the councillors.
Desmond McKenzie, Minister of Local Government. He was speaking at Wednesday's post-cabinet media briefing at the office of the Prime Minister.
Meanwhile, the PNP caucus of the Clarendon Municipal Corporation is in discussions with lawyers on whether to proceed with legal actions concerning the leadership of the corporation. PNP councillor for the Hayes Division in Southeast Clarendon, Cian Barneswell, confirmed the development with our news centre.
We have hired the service of a law firm, and we will be we're still having conversation. I'm looking at the possibilities of how we will approach the courts.
Cian Barneswell, councillor for the Hayes Division.
World in a Minute is brought to you by ABC Electrical Sales. We make things as easy as ABC. Hose Assembly and Supply, equipping Jamaica for success.
And Charles O'Connor Consulting Network, COCN, driven by international accounting standards, modern technology and integrity.
The World in a Minute.
In Trinidad and Tobago, it's a mixed verdict for the suspended police commissioner, Erla Harewood Christopher, on Wednesday. The High Court heard her application challenging her suspension from duties by the Police Service Commission. The presiding judge granted leave to Harewood Christopher to pursue her claim for judicial review against the Commission's decision to suspend. However, the judge refused to grant the interim relief that Harewood Christopher was asking for. That relief was that no one else be appointed to take control of the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service, even while the investigation was ongoing. According to the judge, there was a need for the police service to have a leader at this time, especially given the current state of emergency. This means that the decision by Parliament on Wednesday to appoint DCP Junior Benjamin as acting Commissioner of Police will stand.
President Donald Trump's top diplomat and main spokesperson on Wednesday walked back the idea that he wants the permanent relocation of Palestinians from Gaza. This after American allies and even Republican lawmakers rebuffed Trump's suggestion that the U.S. take ownership of the territory. On Wednesday, Trump called for permanently resettling Palestinians from war-torn Gaza. He also suggested deploying American troops as part of a massive rebuilding operation. But Secretary of State Marco Rubio said he only sought to move roughly 1.8 million Gazans temporarily to allow for reconstruction. The proposal has drawn criticism from Palestinians who are worried they will never be allowed back in if they flee. Egypt, Jordan, and other U.S. allies in the Middle East have cautioned Trump that relocating Palestinians from Gaza would threaten Mideast stability. However, Rubio insisted that Trump's position was not meant as a hostile move.
World in a Minute was brought to you by ABC Electrical Sales. We make things as easy as ABC. Hose Assembly and Supply, equipping Jamaica for success.
And Charles O'Connor Consulting Network, COCN, driven by international accounting standards, modern technology and integrity.
Recapping the top stories making nationwide news at this hour, Information Minister Dr. Dana Morris-Dixon says the government has done long-term planning in the event of a country pulling foreign aid like the USAID.
The mother of a St. Thomas woman killed and dumped near her home in Golden Valley says her daughter's confessed killer helped the family search for her.
And he's a wicked man. You can't believe Grandma would really do that. Honest to God.
The Agriculture Ministry is to increase the number of catchment facilities across the island this year.
NWC clarifies its coverage and responsibility for water and sewerage services following protest.
I'm Robianne Williams.
And I'm Mahiri Stewart.
You can find the news on our website at nationwideradiojm.com and on the Nationwide app available on Google Play and the App Store. News next, the headlines at 6.
If you owe the NWC for more than 2 years, your aged debt may qualify for a 30%, 35%, 40%, or even up to 50% discounts, depending on its age and other special circumstances. Visit nwcjamaica.com for further information. Don't delay. Let's hear from you today. Dial 888-225-5692 or 888-CALL NWC. Get your share from the NWC's bucket full of goodies, serving you in so many ways.
The future is here with Infinity Cooperative Credit Union Jamaica Limited. Educom and Gateway have joined forces to bring you more convenience, innovation, and opportunities to achieve your dreams. Enjoy excellent service and seamless financial solutions, all designed for your lifestyle. Whether it's loans, savings, or insurance, we're here to make your financial journey effortless. Infinity Cooperative Credit Union Jamaica Limited, where possibilities are endless.
Tune in to Cliff Hughes Online this Friday, February 7 from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. for the 16th staging of the Restorative Justice Conference. It all goes down at the AC Hotel under the theme Healing the Nation, the Restorative Power of Justice in Jamaica. Hear from Minister of Justice Delroy Chuck and other stakeholders speak about the work and impact of the restorative justice in our schools, churches, and communities. So tune in to Cliff Hughes Online this Friday, February 7 from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. It's the 16th staging of the Restorative Justice Conference at the AC Hotel under the theme Healing the Nation, Restorative Power of Justice in Jamaica. All this and more only on Nationwide 90 FM, the new revolution in media. This broadcast is brought to you by the Ministry of Justice, the host of the Restorative Justice Conference. Restorative Justice, justice that heals.
Sports at 5 is brought to you by Total Tools. They almost always have it.
Hello, good afternoon, and welcome to Sports here on Nationwide 90 FM. I'm Wayne Walker. Captain John Campbell crafted a beautiful century today for the Jamaica Scorpions on the opening day of their second round West Indies Championship encounter against the Leeward Islands Hurricanes at the Sir Vivian Richards Stadium in Antigua. Campbell slammed 126 as the Scorpions sent to bat reached 306 for 9 at close, with Brad Barnes not out on 53. Campbell cracked 11 fours and 3 sixes in his 150-ball knock. Kirk McKenzie made 33, Carlos Brown 22, Jermaine Blackwood 10 against Rakeem Cornwalls 3 for 31, and Jeremiah Louise 3 for 35, and Hayden Walsh Jr. 2 wickets. Over at the Providence ground, combined campuses and colleges closed on 279 for 6 after they were asked to bat by the champions Guyana Harpy Eagles. Johan Jeremiah led the way with 84, and he was supported by Kyle Corbin 62, Shakir Paris 56, and Demario Richards 40. Ronaldo Ali Mohammed bagged the 3 wickets for 37 runs. At sports time, over at the Kensington Oval in Bridgetown, Barbados Pride reached 287 for 1 against the West Indies Academy. Captain Craig Brathwaite is not out on 125, and Jonathan Drake's 95. They have so far put on 191 for the second wicket. Zachary McCaskey was the man dismissed for 49. While over at Arnoldvale, the Trinidad and Tobago Red Force, they were 5 for 1, replying to the Windward Islands Volcanoes 166 all out. Former CEO of Cricket West Indies, Johnny Graves, says he was not in agreement with Cricket West Indies' decision to name Darren Sammy head coach across all formats. Sammy, who captained the West Indies team to victory in the 2012 and 2016 T20 World Cup, has been in charge of the white ball side since May of 2023. From April 2025, he will also take over test duties, replacing Jamaica's Andre Coley. Speaking on Mason and Guest, Graves says he doesn't support the decision.
I'm a big fan of Darren Sammy's. I was also at the helm and driving the change to split the coaches, so I still feel that split coaches with the modern game gives you the best possible chance of success because the schedule is so intense. And, you know, we all know that proper planning and proper preparation leads to better results. And I was surprised that Darren was given all 3, as I was when Brendan McCullum was for England, because I thought that, you know, splitting the coaches was the right decision and aligning the red ball, particularly with the A-team having more focus on red ball cricket, having a head of test cricket or head of red ball cricket really involved in the test and A-team was the way forward.
Former CEO of Cricket West Indies, Johnny Grave. Arsenal were today knocked out of the Carabao Cup in England. They lost 2-0 to Newcastle United at the second leg of their semi-final tie at St James's Park. Jacob Murray scored in the 19th minute to give the Magpies the lead before Anthony Gordon added a second in the 52nd minute for Newcastle to complete a 4-0 victory on aggregate. And the second leg of semi-final 2 will be played tomorrow, with Tottenham Hotspur taking a 1-0 first leg lead to Anfield to face Liverpool. Let's now hear the goals from the Arsenal-Newcastle game.
Oh, Gordon into Isak. Oh, and he's hit the post as well. And Murphy scores from the follow-up. And this one surely will stand. What a brilliant finish by Murphy. That is not easy. David Raya for Rice. Surely, yes. Anthony Gordon has surely fired Newcastle into the final of the Carabao Cup.
And as I mentioned, they'll be awaiting the winner on aggregate between Liverpool and Tottenham Hotspur. That tie at the minute, Spurs lead by a goal to nil, and they head to the Merseyside tomorrow for that second leg tie. And that will do it for sports at the minute. We're going to be back, though, at 6:05 with lots more.
Sports at 5 was brought to you by Total Tools. They almost always have it.
Since 2016, 156,000 more Jamaicans are working. This is more than any other time in our history. Your government is caring for you.
The time brought to you by the Office of the Prime Minister is
5:30.
Imagine opening a bank account without ever leaving your home. Well, at CIBC Caribbean, we've changed the game. Open a new CIBC savings or checking account completely online using your computer or phone anywhere, anytime. No need to visit the bank, no waiting in line. Just apply, verify, and sign your documents all online. It's secure, seamless, and 100% digital. Open your new CIBC account by applying online today.
More savings, more choices. Get active with Active Home Center. The one-stop shop for everything for your home. We have more savings, more choices, unbelievable prices. Wide selection with the latest styles. The kitchen, bathroom, right down to the tile. Buy the hottest items on spot, don't miss out. Best options under one roof, no doubt. More savings, more choices.
Visit us in store or online at www.activehomecenter.com.
We have more savings, more choices.
Digicel, live life your way, no free rewards. Digicel postpaid. With Digicel postpaid, it's all about you. Sign up or pay your bills to stay active for a chance to win a luxurious all-expense paid trip for two to Royalton, Antigua. With round-trip flights on us, every week you could win exciting prizes. Event tickets, gym memberships, spa packages, excursion adventures, restaurant vouchers, and more. When you opt in on the My Digicel app, life your way starts now. With Digicel, better connected.
Promotion ends March 31. Authorized under Section 58.3 of the Betting, Gaming and Lotteries Act.
Outperform, outlast, Hilti. We top performance, Hilti. Chakama, reliable, full stop, not comma. We have the expertise for drilling and demolition. We have the power tools for plumbers and electrician. Fancy select tools, free parts and free repairs. 3 parts, free repairs. 2 to 3 years. Hilti, available at Delta Supply, 106 Hagley Park Road. Call us at 876-302-61114. Delta Supply. We service what we sell.
Yes, it's tax time. March 17 is the due date for your income tax returns. Self-employed individuals are required to file their annual returns SO4 and estimated return SO4A with income tax, education tax, NHT, and NIS due and payable on one return. Companies are required to file the ITO2, which is the annual return, and the estimated return ITO7. Visit jamaicatax.gov.jm or call 888-TAX-HELP for details. Tax Administration Jamaica, working together to serve you even better.
Home is closer than you think when you save towards your dream home with the Homeowner Savings Plan, or HOSP, from CIBC Caribbean. With HOSP, you unlock preferential interest rates to earn more interest on your savings and pay less with a discounted mortgage rate. You can even borrow up to an additional US $5,000 or its equivalent to help you with your closing costs. Get home faster when you save the HOSP way with CIBC.
Cover Story is brought to you by Hyundai. Modern, premium, affordable vehicles.
Pay nothing down on a shiny, brand new Hyundai vehicle with free loan payment until March 2025. Yes, get a 2024 Hyundai vehicle and get free loan payment until March 2025. 100% financing, 2 years free service, 0 processing fees, and other sweet goodies. Drive into the new year with your new ride. Goodbye, old car. Hello, Hyundai. Hyundai. 4 free payments promotion. Limited stock available. Offer while stocks last. Conditions apply.
Good afternoon, listeners and viewers. It's 5:34. It's the 5th of February. Welcome to the cover story. I'm Siobhan Campbell.
And my name is Sanjay Lewis, and as Siobhan indicated, it's cover story time. And since the start of the year, the JCF has imposed several curfews in sections of Manchester, Clarendon, and Kingston and St. Andrew. This in response to criminal activity in the areas. Dana Davey has more in this report.
The curfew that was imposed in Mandeville, Williamsfield, Porus, and Christiana in Manchester was extended on Tuesday, February 4. The measure has been in place since Friday, January 31. It's now due to expire on Thursday, February 6. The police say the curfew in each area will begin and end at separate intervals. For Mandeville and Williamsfield, the areas affected are Royal Flat, Comfort, Mayday, New Hall, Albion, Green Street, Barnstable, Tulsa Road, and Hillside. The areas affected in Porus are Main Street, Broadleaf, Trinity, Hampton Road, and Redbury Road. In Christiana, the affected areas are Craighead, Dobson, Pike, Colville, Silent Hill, Tiki-Tiki, and Lina Parish. This is the latest in a series of curfews that the police have imposed on the 4 areas since the start of the year. The Manchester police have vowed to increase their efforts to maintain law and order in the parish, which saw an increase in murders in 2024. And the 48-hour curfew that was imposed in sections of the Kingston Eastern Police Division was also extended. The security measure will continue until 6 p.m. on Thursday, February 6. The areas impacted include Mountain Ridge, Mountain View Avenue, Cane River Falls, Flag Circle, 10 Miles, Bull Bay, and South Camp Road. In the meantime, a 48-hour curfew was imposed in sections of Ellerslie Pen and Taws Meadows in Spanish Town. The curfew began at 6 p.m. on Monday and will remain in effect until 6 p.m. on Wednesday, February 5. And a 48-hour curfew is in effect in the communities of Cornpeace, Savannah District, and Raymonds in Clarendon. A 48-hour curfew was also imposed in sections of Portland Cottage in the parish. The curfews began at 6 p.m. on Monday and will remain in effect until Wednesday. Dana Davey for Nationwide at 5.
Thank you, Dana. Well, we explore, are the use of these curfews effective? And for that question, we have Professor of Sustainable Development at the Mona campus of the University of the West Indies, Anthony Clayton. He joins us now. Good afternoon, Professor.
Good afternoon, Siobhan. Good afternoon, Sanjay. How are you both?
Good afternoon, Prof. We're good, Prof. How are you?
So, the first question, Professor, when the police deploy certain measures, it's obviously for either a tactical or strategic reason. And the use of a curfew, where does that fall into the overall crime or the crime-fighting portfolio?
It's really a tactical measure, and it's typically used for a short-term period when the situation is either getting out of control or the police think that there may be a spike in the level of crime. And it's used to make sure that things like that don't happen. It isn't really a long-term solution to the problem, but it's still quite an effective measure. There's not very much evidence that a curfew brings about a permanent reduction in the level of crime, but that's not really what it's supposed to be for. It's really to get a temporary control over a situation where the community has become volatile and the police are expecting a significant level of unrest. Because the curfew is actually, it's as much about protecting the people who are not involved in crime as well as it is trying to deter those who might be involved in crime. So it actually has those two sides to it. And in high crime communities, people are generally very happy to see curfews, at least for a short period of time.
What do you make, Prof, of individuals who have said this is a workaround to avoid the legal challenges associated with SOEs? So what we're seeing now is a heavy reliance on the utilizations of curfews in several of these areas. Your thoughts on that?
I don't see it as really as a workaround, because there are genuine issues with the state of emergency. It's not something that the government should call on very often. And as you know, the two main political parties do not have a single view on this. There is greater consensus about the ZOSOs, but there is not a consensus about the uses of a state of emergency, mainly because with an SOE, normal civil rights are temporarily suspended. And that's so, therefore, not a measure that you should use except in the most extreme circumstances. Mm-hmm. The curfew isn't really a workaround. The curfew is actually a standard policing measure, and it's used in many countries, again, in a situation where the community is becoming volatile, or you've got intelligence that suggests that there's going to be some increased gang activity, and you need to stay on top of the situation and make sure that it doesn't get out of hand. So curfews are used in a number of other jurisdictions and countries. They're typically only used for short term because, in the end, the rest of the community start to feel that their lives are being a little bit too disrupted, and they want to get back to normal. But it's worth pointing out that a curfew doesn't apply to absolutely everybody. If you have a legitimate reason for being out on the street, the police will let you pass. So if you need, for example, to go to the pharmacy or something like that, the police might check on you, but they will let you pass. It's only intended to stop youth in particular from hanging around on corners and potentially, therefore, getting into or starting trouble.
And in the case of the sustainability of a curfew, as you said, it's meant as a short-term measure. But in the instant cases for where it's been declared in those three parishes, they're not, as of so far this year, experiencing any massive increase in murders. So is this a case where they see a potential threat and they're heading it off rather than in response to a threat that is already in place?
Well, I'll tell you my real concern. My real concern is that because we are having some trouble in bringing about a long-term sustained reduction in the level of violent crime, that we are starting to use curfews almost as a substitute for the relative lack of success elsewhere. Now, I think the last time we spoke, we were talking about the approximately 20% reduction in the level of violent crime. And although I, like everybody else, I'm very, very glad to see the level of crime go down, but 20% is actually only the beginning of a very long road. And I believe I pointed out at the time that our level of violence would have to go down by 20% a year, every year for over 10 years before we started to get back to a normal level of crime, because our levels of crime are so exceptionally high. And you can't get there just by using things like curfews, which are really just a short-term control measure. In the longer run, you have to start addressing some of the root causes of crime. And that means trying to stop the guns coming in. It means trying to stop the breaking up and disrupting the gangs. It means preventing the gangs from recruiting. And it means doing a lot of social regeneration work and urban regeneration. And that is the sort of work which doesn't deliver overnight results. And that's very unfortunate, because unless you're willing to put in that kind of long-term commitment, what tends to happen is that the level of crime goes down for a while, but then the gangs regroup, they reorganize, they move into different areas of criminal activity, and they come back. So at some point we have to switch from emphasizing short-term tactical measures to emphasizing the long-term measures that are going to be needed to fundamentally address the problem and get rid of it once and for all.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we're definitely going to have to continue that conversation with you, Prof, but we're out of time and want to thank you so much for sharing your perspective on this topic.
Thank you so much. God bless you.
All the best. That's Professor Anthony Clayton, and he is Professor of Sustainable Development at the Mona campus of the University of the West Indies. We're going to take the break, and then when we come back, we're going to turn our attention to a statement made today by Dr. Dana Morris Dixon. She is the Minister of Information as it relates to the Trump administration decision to restructure the USAID. Let's take the break and come back to play that clip.
Clearing personal, non-commercial shipments at the port? Avoid the wait. Request a contactless clearance through your agent today. It's more efficient. It's secure. The time by the Jamaica Customs Agency is...
It's 5:45.
Corian Solid Surface, so versatile and beautiful. It's non-porous, no sealing necessary, renewable and repairable, so easy to clean and maintain, and can be thermoformed into any shape. Choose Corian, the #1 solid surface in the world, when you want beauty and the best for your countertop. Visit Home International Limited, located at 104 Constance Ring Road. Telephone 755-1970
or 276-6448.
Get ready to receive your share of a bucket full of goodies from the NWC.
That's so nice, eh?
From January 2 to March 31, 2025, you could benefit from the debt amnesty.
Tell me more.
NWC has amnesty offers that include 50% write-offs, 100% on balances over 2 years, and 25 to 50% on balances depending on the age of the balance.
Who can qualify?
Practically anyone with arrears. If your residential account is disconnected for 6 months or more, you qualify. Or if you are a pensioner or path beneficiary with a balance over 2 years, you qualify. Plus, commercial and residential accounts with balances over 2 years also qualify for discounts. Call 888-225-5692. Check the NWC website or visit any NWC office today.
Welcome back, listeners and viewers. As we said at the top of the hour, we were going to discuss the more recent developments regarding USAID and the restructuring of that organization, how it will impact Jamaica. And Minister with Responsibility for Information, Senator Dr. Dana Morris Dixon, says the government has done long-term planning in the event of a country pulling foreign aid. The minister was responding to a question concerning the future of local initiatives following the Trump administration's decision to restructure the United States Agency for International Development Aid, that's USAID. A move by the Trump administration to cease its international funding for 90 days is to impact Jamaica.
Now, USAID was an independent agency of the U.S. government, primarily responsible for administering civilian foreign aid and development assistance. The agency's website has been scrubbed from the internet, while its workers worldwide are expected to take leave starting Friday. It's understood that USAID's work with the Jamaican government has primarily focused on citizen security, disaster resilience, and health care. It had funded several projects through a number of ministries and non-governmental agencies.
Questions now abound about the future of those local projects in light of USAID's withdrawal. The concern was put to Minister Morris Dixon at Wednesday's post-cabinet media briefing. She told journalists that the government has prepared itself for scenarios in which projects funded from other countries are pulled.
All right, I'm going to speak as Minister of Information. I'm wearing the information hat in responding to the USAID matter. And obviously, the USAID has been a real partner of Jamaica for a long time and continues to be. We see it as continuing to be a partner of Jamaica. And in the Ministry of Education, we have benefited over a long period of time from a lot of their support. And I had spoken to the PS and we were looking at what programs were actually in train currently. And we had about 3 programs that were in train. PM and I did speak on it, and I remember him recalling the work that he did with USAID on literacy and how it was one of the best literacy programs we had developed in Jamaica. So USAID has definitely had impact in our country, and across many different ministries, we've seen that be the case. And so, obviously, when we're looking at this matter, we have to recognize the sovereignty and the sovereign right of every country to make their decisions that suit them. And we respect the sovereign right of any other country that we interact with. And while PM has not made a statement on this yet, I expect him to make one later this week. But just noting that the Prime Minister has consistently spoken about economic resilience and us not being dependent on anyone. And that is important because as an independent country, we need to be able to stand on our own 2 feet. And very importantly, it's important that Jamaicans remember that there's nobody coming to our rescue. We have to be independent, and our Prime Minister has been saying this. And if you look at our economic policies, it has all been linked to that. So we wanted to have economic stability. We needed to take care of the economic debt because we understood that as an independent country, you have to be economically independent and be able to call your own shots. And even the new pivot strategy, which is all about economic growth, it's about economic independence. So as we see issues like this and maybe some disruption in some of the aid that we got, we also have to juxtapose it with what we've been doing over the last several years as a country to get our economy right and get us into a state where we can more declare economic independence. Again, nobody's coming to rescue us. And so when you see the work that we have done, and people say, oh, you know, it's just the economic stability, but there are still other issues. Yes, there are other issues, but these are important things, Look at last year. When we had those rains and we had the hurricane, we were able to use our funds to fix back to schools, to be able to support our farmers, to be able to rebuild, to give all those persons that Minister McKenzie would have worked on so hard to get the housing grants out. That was because of our economic independence, and we have to continue building that. So as I said, the Prime Minister will be speaking on this later this week, so expect a statement from him on USAID and other matters. But we also recognize in our government, and we have a very good Minister of Foreign Affairs in Kamina Johnson-Smith, and there's been long-term planning. We've been putting together our plans in terms of whether or not, countries may change their position on aid. And we've seen this in history before. We've seen changes in policies, especially with the EU. You would have remembered, the move from Lomé to Cotonou and all of those agreements. Those were changes and shifts in foreign aid policy. And so we've gone through this before. And so as a government, we are very much aware of the possibility of changes in foreign policy posture. And what we do is we plan for it. So we strategize, and you sit and you say, okay, if this happens, what does that mean for us? But we also believe that there are definitely arising opportunities. There are opportunities that may present themselves. Foreign aid is a tool of foreign policy. So we will work with our Minister of Foreign Affairs leading to look at where there are opportunities for Jamaica. And we remain a strong and reliable partner of the United States and all of our major trading partners. And that's not going to change. So that was a long answer, but that is USAID, and we will have much more to tell you as we look at the implications across our ministries in terms of the programs that have been put on hold.
And that's Minister Maurice Dixon. Siobhan, before we move to the other clip, the minister is right that the government, for a very long time, they have put plans in place to deal with any possible fallout. But the challenge that we will see with this fallout from USAID is for those non-governmental organizations that many of them get funding from USAID or other agencies that the USAID would fund. And it will be interesting to see how many of those NGOs in Jamaica are affected by this decision.
Well, Sanjay, as I said, elections have consequences, and whether Jamaicans like to believe it or not, U.S. elections have consequences for us as well. And this being a key one, I love how the minister framed it there, that foreign aid very much ties with foreign policy. And you cannot escape that reality in this instant case here. And that is what I find somewhat strange about this move by President Trump, in that USAID, not only is it a matter of just sending aid to other countries, it is a form of soft diplomacy which the US has been able to wield over the years in their favor, that I think he has not really grasped and is in some ways giving up by shuttering USAID and shifting focus away from it. Because in the grand scheme of things, the USAID's budget was $2.93 billion. In the grand scheme of a $7 trillion US dollar budget, would you really consider that funding inefficient use of monies that could be used to, say, prop up countries who are thinking that maybe our interests lie further east rather than looking to the United States, or countries who are on the brink of shifting over to that eastward focus, staying in the lane of supporting U.S. commerce and supporting U.S. diplomatic policies? I don't know if the president is grasping that arena, and rather more a simple myopic view as this is money that's not being spent on the US directly. Why are we spending it?
Precisely, and I suspect after a while the president will recognize that the decision to withdraw the funding in that manner, he will have to go right back to supporting these countries, because as you rightly indicated, foreign policy and diplomacy is important, and it is helping the US in some way, shape or form. So that move by President Trump, I suspect, Javon, that he's going to walk it back. Possibly some of the funding will be redeployed in other areas, but I don't see that this is the end of USAID, or they may just call it another name, but I don't see the end of it at all.
Well, listeners, that was not the only matter that Senator Morris Dixon discussed. She also spoke about the matter of the deportees. She says the government is intent on integrating into society those Jamaicans deported from the United States. That's the more than 5,000 undocumented Jamaicans who are not in detention, who have been issued with final orders for removal from the U.S. This comes as the Trump administration intensifies its crackdown on undocumented immigrants.
I'm going to answer it a bit broadly because last week the PM did speak about the matter of those that have been deported to Jamaica, and I will reiterate his comments, which is that obviously when any of those individuals are deported, we have to treat them with quite a lot of care. And we have to understand that they're not one homogeneous group. You have many individuals who may have left to try to make a better life for their families, and they were not involved in any criminal activity at all. And we have to be able to provide opportunities for them as they return. And then you also have those who may have been involved in criminal activities. And so you have to obviously have law enforcement be a part of that reintegration into Jamaica. And so that is very clear. In terms of interministerial work, we're working together and at Cabinet on Monday, since this is a post-Cabinet press briefing. On Monday at Cabinet, we decided that we would have an interministerial committee that's made up of several different ministries. I have one minister right beside me, the Minister of Local Government. Obviously, the Minister of Foreign Affairs and Foreign Trade would be very intimately a part of this. The Minister of Labor and Social Security would be a part of it. The Ministry of Education would also likewise, especially on the skills element of it, also be a part of that committee that would be empowered to look at how we treat with all of the elements. As government, we believe that there are some opportunities. Some individuals are coming back with good skills that we would want to integrate. Some we may need to do additional skills training for them. We may need to be looking at housing support or other support. And so we have a committee that has been empowered by Cabinet to meet and to work through these details. As that committee meets and actually has a position, we will definitely come back and let you know what the details are and what that plan ultimately looks like.
And that's Dr. Dana Morris Dixon, the Minister with responsibility for information, and she was responding to questions at Wednesday's post-Cabinet media briefing.
Yes, and that's the other coin that is dropping now, this matter of deportation back to Jamaica. And again, the minister is right. They are our citizens. This is their home, and they are coming back whether they want to or not, and it is in our best interest to ensure that they are properly reintegrated and settled. It's not something we can escape. And as for those who are criminally minded returning, I hope that they come back with this understanding of rehabilitation and not an attempt to continue that kind of behavior here on the island.
And to be honest, Siobhan, there are programs in place already to assist Jamaicans who are returning home. And what maybe is needed now is just to see how much more support can be given to those organizations and those individuals who are helping with the process.
Precisely. It is in our best interest to take care of our own. And I would hope that this is one of those instances where that spirit of Jamaican camaraderie, which tends to shine out in some instances, is shining out here as those Jamaicans return home. But I'm getting the wrap-up signal from my producer. That is the end of the cover story, listeners. Thank you for joining us. The headlines are next.
Cover Story was brought to you by Hyundai. Modern, premium, affordable vehicles.
The time brought to you by Guardian Life. Live secure, live easy is...
A minute after 6.
Nationwide headlines at 6.
Good evening with the headlines at 6. I'm Shalois Michael. Minister with responsibility for information, Dr. Dana Morris Dixon, says the government has done long-term planning in the event of a country pulling foreign aid. The minister was responding to a question concerning the future of local initiatives following the Trump administration's decision to restructure the United States Agency for International Development, USAID.
There's been long-term planning. We've been putting together our plans in terms of whether or not, countries may change their position on aid. And we've seen this in history before. We've seen changes in policies. And so we've gone through this before. And so as a government, we are very much aware of the possibility of changes in foreign policy posture. And what we do is we plan for it. But we also believe there are opportunities that may present themselves. Foreign aid is a tool of foreign policy. So we will work with our Minister of Foreign Affairs leading to look at where there are opportunities for Jamaica. And we remain a strong and reliable partner of the United States and all of our major trading partners. And that's not going to change.
Dr. Morris Dixon is also the Minister of Education. She revealed that 3 projects within the ministry were backed by USAID.
Obviously, the USAID has been a real partner of Jamaica for a long time and continues to be. We see it as continuing to be a partner of Jamaica. And in the Ministry of Education, we have benefited over a long period of time from a lot of their support. And I had spoken to the PS and we were looking at what programs were actually in train currently. And we had about 3 programs that were in train. So USAID has definitely had impact in our country and across many different ministries.
Dr. Dana Morris Dixon, Minister of Information and Education. Agriculture Minister Floyd Green says the ministry intends to increase the number of catchment facilities across the island this year. This as the government seeks to address the inadequate supply of water facing farmers during the dry season.
I think over the last 3 years, we've done about 29. And again, this is a combination between working with private individuals, as I told you, the strategy. They do the excavation, we provide the pond liners, and community groups. We want to double that number this year, so we want to do what we've done in 3 years, we want to do that in 1 year. We already have programmed. So a lot of the pond liner money that I identified, and we have about 17 million in pond liner from the government, and thankfully JACE is going to be helping us with another 13 million for pond liner. That will help us to reach maybe another 15 or so farmers, and then we're going to earmark at least to do another 15 or more. Ideally and definitely, we're in the budget cycle now, but it's one of the main areas of focus, so I definitely want to double the numbers.
Minister Green says 11 catchment ponds were installed last year.
Last year, we did over 11 catchment ponds, and it's a mix between individuals where they do the excavation and the ministry still rather provides them with the pond liner, or communities where the community comes together, identifies an area, wants to serve in multiple farmers. Then the ministry comes in, we do the entire excavation and preparation. So we did that in Hindstone, in St. Anne, where we have a number of farmers in that belt. We're doing that now in New Pen, in St. Mary, where again, we come in, we do the excavation. In some instances where the topography is helpful, we do drainage that leads into the pond. And that is helping. So these 11 catchments that we did last year.
Floyd Green, Minister of Agriculture. Chairman of the Clarendon Municipal Corporation, Joel Williams, will continue as Mayor of Maypen. Local Government Minister Desmond McKenzie says he received the legal confirmation from the Attorney General and Solicitor General.
On the subject whether the mayor can be removed because of a by-election result, the Attorney General and the Solicitor General have advised that Clause 32 of the Local Governance Act clearly lays out what happens when a tie occurs after a by-election. Where there is a tie in the political representation following a by-election, person who occupies the chair as chairperson before the by-election remains as the chairperson after the by-election. Additionally, Clause 19 of the Act states that the tenure of the chairperson of a municipal corporation lasts from one local government election to the next.
Minister McKenzie made the announcement as the tensions continue between the PNP and the JLP councillors over which side is to lead the corporation. Minister McKenzie says the mayor can only be removed through a no-confidence motion 1 year after the last election.
The only way in which that chairperson can be removed between island-wide local government election is if a no-confident motion supported by the majority of all councillors in the municipality no sooner than 12 months after the date of the last local government election. With the legal position being clearly expressed, I'm expecting that the outbursts and the disruption of the Clarendon Municipal Corporation will come to an end, and that the needs of the people in their respective divisions will occupy the attention of all the councillors.
Desmond McKenzie, Minister of Local Government. Meanwhile, the PNP caucus of the Clarendon Municipal Corporation is in discussions with lawyers on whether to proceed with legal actions concerning the leadership of the corporation. PNP councillor for the Hayes Division in Southwest Clarendon, C.N. Barneswell, confirmed the development with our news centre on Wednesday.
We have hired the service of a law firm, and we will be we're still having conversation. I'm looking at the possibilities of how we will approach the courts.
C.N. Barneswell, councillor for the Hayes Division. Government Senator Cavan Gale says decisive leadership from the Holness administration has caused the country to make significant strides in several critical sectors over the past few years. He made the observation as he closed the State of the Nation debate in the Upper House last week.
The demonstration of resilience and recovery are results of decisive leadership. Increases in the net international reserve, a result of decisive leadership. No administration could have found $100 billion to increase public sector wages, a result of decisive leadership. Mr. President, the longest expansion of economic growth, a result of decisive leadership. The most tax relief and tax collection we have ever seen in this country, a result of decisive leadership. Making Jamaica as a developing country, a shining star in this region, is a result of decisive leadership.
According to Senator Gale, who is also the President General of the Bustamante Industrial Trade Union, there's room for improvement.
And despite commendable economic strides since 2016, significant barriers persist, preventing Jamaica from unlocking its full productivity potential. Jamaica, sir, has the potential to expand its labor force into high-value sectors by leveraging its knowledge economy. This requires, however, to continue to improve our educational outcome. We also have to bridge that digital divide, strengthening telecommunications networks to ensure equitable access to digital infrastructure across rural and urban areas. And we have to enable some more Jamaicans to participate in the digital economy.
Cavan Gale, Government Senator. Those were the headlines at 6. I'm Shalois Michael. Sports is next.
Yeah, here? If you're tired of a cluttered office space, then you need to call Corporate Interiors International. We offer top quality industrial shelving, filing cabinets, and storage cabinets to keep your workspace organized and efficient. Plus, comfortable office chairs that will keep your team productive and focused. Visit us today at corporateinteriorsjm.com or call us at 876-630-0010 for more information. Corporate Interiors International. We sell solutions, not just furniture.
Digicel, live life your way, no free what? Digicel postpaid. With Digicel postpaid, it's all about you. Sign up or pay your bills to stay active for a chance to win a luxurious all-expense paid trip for two to Royalton, Antigua. With round-trip flights on us, every week you could win exciting prizes. Event tickets, gym memberships, spa packages, excursion adventures, restaurant vouchers, and more. When you opt in on the My Digicel app, life your way starts now with Digicel. Better connected.
Promotion ends March 31. Authorized under Section 58.3 of the Betting, Gaming and Lotteries Act.
Attention! The NWC's amnesty package is here, overflowing with a bucket full of goodies from January 2 to March 31, 2025. Disconnected for over 6 months, residential customers can get a 50% write-off. Pensioners and past beneficiaries get a full write-off on balances over 2 years. Do you have outstanding debt between 90 days and 2 years due to an underground leak? You may qualify for a 25% concession. Plus, enjoy discounts from 30 to 50% depending on your arrears. So, don't delay. Let's hear from you today. Dial 888-225-5692 or 888-CALL NWC. The NWC's amnesty package. Get your share from our bucket full of goodies. Conditions apply.
Hello, good evening, and welcome to Sports here on Nationwide 90 FM. I'm Wayne Walker. Captain John Campbell crafted a beautiful century today for the Jamaica Scorpions on the opening day of their second round West Indies Championship encounter against the Leeward Islands Hurricanes at the Sir Vivian Richards Stadium in Antigua. Campbell slammed 126 as the Scorpions centre-back closed on 306 for 9. Brad Barnes was not out at the end of play today on 53. Campbell, he slammed 11 fours and 3 sixes in his 150 ball knock. Kirk McKenzie made 33, Carlos Brown 22, Jermaine Blackwood 10 against Rakeem Cornwall 3 for 71, Jeremiah Louise 3 for 35, and Hayden Walsh Jr. 2 wickets. Over at Providence, combined campuses and colleges, they closed on 279 for 6 after they were asked to bat by champions, the Guyana Harpy Eagles. Johan Jeremiah led the way with 84. He was supported by Kyle Corbin 62, Shakir Paris 56, and Demario Richards 40. Ronaldo Ali Mohammed bagged 3 for 37. At sports time over at the Kensington Oval in Bridgetown, Barbados, the Barbados Pride, they're at the moment 328 for 2, 329 now for 2. Craig Brathwaite, the captain, he's still there on 136 over 214 balls, 14 fours, yet to hit a 6. And Jonathan Drakes, he went just a short time ago for 117, having slammed the 14 fours and 4 sixes, 176 balls he faced. Zachary McCaskey made 49. And there's also another game over at Arnos Vale. The Trinidad and Tobago Red Force, they were 36 for 1, and they're responding to the Windward Islands Volcanoes' 166 all out. Former CEO of Cricket West Indies, Johnny Grave, says he was not in agreement with Cricket West Indies' decision to name Darren Sammy head coach across all formats. Sammy, who captained the West Indies team to victory in the 2012 and 2016 T20 World Cup, has been in charge of the white ball side since May of 2023. From April of this year, he will also take over test duties, replacing Jamaica's Andre Coley. Speaking on the Mason and Guest show in Barbados, Graves says he doesn't support the decision.
I'm a big fan of Darren Sammy's. I was also at the helm and driving the change to split the coaches, so I still feel that split coaches with the modern game gives you the best possible chance of success because the schedule is so intense. And, you know, we all know that proper planning and proper preparation leads to better results. And I was surprised that Darren was given all three, as I was when Brendan McCullum was for England, because I thought that, you know, splitting the coaches was the right decision and aligning the red ball, particularly with the A-team having more focus on red ball cricket, having a head of test cricket or head of red ball cricket really involved in the test and A-team was the way forward.
Former Cricket West Indies CEO Johnny Grave. And Cricket West Indies unveil an action-packed schedule for the senior men and women's team from May to December of this year, featuring a mix of home and away fixtures. Fans can now start planning for an exciting year of cricket, with the men beginning their campaign with limited overs tours in the UK. The men's team will continue its preparation for the 2027 ICC Cricket World Cup, starting with a 3-match one-day international series against Ireland, May 21 to 25 in Malahide, Dublin. 4 days later, they will take on England in a bid for back-to-back ODI series wins, with 3 ODIs scheduled from May 29 to June 3. This will be followed by 3 T20 internationals against England from June 6 to 10 before concluding the UK tour with 3 T20 internationals against Ireland in Belfast from June 12 to 15. The men in maroon will then shift focus to Test cricket with the start of the ICC World Cup Test Championship cycle under the new head coach Darren Sammy. They'll battle for the prestigious Frank Worrell Trophy against Australia in a 3-match test series starting in Barbados in June 25. They moved out to Grenada on July 3 to conclude in Jamaica on July 12 at Sabina Park. A 5-match T20 international series against Australia follows, with the first 2 games at Sabina Park July 20 and 22, and the remaining 3 games at Warner Park in St. Kitts July 25, 26 and 28. Arsenal were today knocked out of the Carabao Cup in England. They lost 2-0 to Newcastle United in the second leg of their semi-final tie at St James's Park. Jacob Murphy scored in the 19th minute to give the Magpies the lead, before Anthony Gordon added a second in the 52nd minute for Newcastle to complete a 4-0 victory on aggregate.
Oh, Gordon into Isak. Oh, and he's hit the post as well, and Murphy scores from the follow-up. And this one surely will stand. What a brilliant finish by Murphy. That is not easy. David Raya for Rice. Surely, yes. Anthony Gordon has surely fired Newcastle into the final of the Carabao Cup.
The second leg of semi-final 2 will be played tomorrow. Tottenham Hotspur will be taking a 1-0 first leg league to Anfield to face the league leaders Liverpool. Forwards Jalmara Calvin and Shanil Thomas are both excited to be part of the squad for the 2 friendly games against Trinidad and Tobago tomorrow and on February 9. The first game is set for the Montego Bay Sports Complex at Catherine Hall in St. James, with the second at the Tony Spalding Sports Complex on Sunday. Calvin, who has scored 12 goals so far in the Ray and Nephew Jamaica Premier League for Cavalier, says this is his opportunity to cement a place in the Reggae Boy squad.
Really grateful. I have to say a big shout out to the coach for giving me the chance, and I hope for the best. It was a really good training. I really liked the training session. I didn't get to train much because I played the game, but I really felt the joy in the team and really excited. Yes, I'm looking for it. You know, I have to put my best foot forward, but this is a great opportunity for me to move forward with this group. Hopefully I just see myself in the team in March. So I'm just really excited and just hoping for the best.
That's Jamar Calvin, who was born in Jamaica, went to live in Antigua for a long while, ended up playing for their junior team, back in Jamaica playing for Cavalier, and now looking to make the Jamaican national senior team. And Thomas, who plays for Montego Bay United in the nation's top flight, is in a three-way tie for third in the Golden Boot race in the Premier League. All three of them have 10 goals apiece. He's confident Jamaica can win both games, though.
Training was very good. I enjoyed it. Well, I love playing with the players so far. We have a chemistry. I don't know where it came from, but it is there. So I'm happy. I really want to win the both of them. I really want to win the 2 games. So let's see how that goes. I think we got it in us to win the both of the games at Catching Island, the one at Arnett Garden. So let's see how that goes. Yeah, so everybody in Montego Bay, come support the Reggae Boys. I mean, I'm in the squad, so I think that should motivate everybody to come watch their player. So come out and support us.
That's Chanel Thomas. Finally in sports at this time, Leah Chin of the Bowley School out of Florida set the Junior Pan Am B qualifying times in the 15 and over girls 50 and 100 meters free at the recent Carl Dalhouse Memorial Swim Meet. The Pan Am B qualifying times are 27.69 seconds in the 50 meters and a minute 09 for the 100 meters free. Now, the former Mount Alvernia High School standout won the 50 meters in a lifetime best, 27.07 seconds. And the 100 meters also in a lifetime best, 59.60. She also won the 200 meters free in a personal best, 2 minutes 14.10 seconds.
I was quite happy with my performance overall. But for my freestyle events, the 50, 100 and 200 in particular, I was happy with, seeing that I PB'd in all 3. This was my first long course meet of the season, and seeing that we're mid-season right now, I was a bit nervous and wasn't too sure of what was to come with the results. But I've been training and trusting the plans my coach at Bowls has for me and going along with it. And it seems to be paying off.
And Chin says it was important for her to record some fast times.
I knew I had to come down for this swim meet and get my times on the board, seeing I had none, so I could be selected for any upcoming international meets. I'm feeling good about the rest of the season, a bit nervous still, but very excited for what's coming up. And of course, my goals are to keep on improving and hopefully get selected for any upcoming international meets to continue to represent my country.
That's Leah Chin. That's sports.
For all your scales and food processing equipment, call Advanced Scales and Equipment Limited at 876-968-9612-5. The time by Advanced Scales and Equipment Limited is
6:21.
Visit Marshall's Pharmacy, Greater Portmore, for all your prescription needs, gifts, personal care, household and stationery items. The temperature by Marshall's Pharmacy, Greater Portmore is
29 degrees Celsius here in the nation's capital, Kingston. It's 28 in the western city, Montego Bay.
Imagine opening a bank account without ever leaving your home. Well, at CIBC Caribbean, we've changed the game. Open a new CIBC savings or checking account completely online using your computer or phone, anywhere, anytime. No need to visit the bank, no waiting in line. Just apply, verify and sign your documents, all online. It's secure, seamless, and 100% digital. Open your new CIBC account by applying online today.
Yeah, here? If you're tired of a cluttered office space, then you need to call Corporate Interiors International. We offer top quality industrial shelvings, filing cabinets, and storage cabinets to keep your workspace organized and efficient. Plus comfortable office chairs that will keep your team productive and focused. Visit us today at corporateinteriorsjm.com or call us at 876-630-0010 for more information. Corporate Interiors International. We sell solutions, not just furniture. Good morning and welcome to the newest addition to the Nationwide News Network family on Hot 102.
Good afternoon, I'm Erica Allen.
I'm Elizabeth Bennett.
In Nationwide News at this hour.
This is Nationwide. I'm Cliff Hughes.
And I'm Carol Narcisse.
Morning, welcome to This Morning on Hot 102.
Thank you so much for joining us. I'm Beverly Anderson Manley. Good morning and welcome.
For 20 years, Nationwide 90 FM has been your trusted source for breaking news, delivering critical updates when you needed them most. 3:37 in the afternoon, we interrupt to bring you more from the One Don Klansman gang tribe. Another guilty verdict. With fearless, fact-based journalism that unearthed the truth.
Between 2012 and 2018, nearly $5.5 million was taken from the track legend.
And insightful commentary that sparked meaningful conversations and shifted perspectives.
Welcome to the front page. I'm Emily Crooks.
I am Naomi Francis.
We're pleased to be joined by
Roger Clark.
From the stories that shook Jamaica,
we're having an earthquake,
to those that inspired change and left lasting impacts.
In 2014, to be dealing with an issue such as the Marianine case.
Nationwide 90 FM has been there, diving deep into the issues that matter most to you. As we mark 20 years of dedicated service in 2025, we honor the trust you have placed in us and reaffirm our commitment to serving you, the Jamaican people. Rooted in truth, fairness, and integrity, we continue to provide incisive reporting with a foundation of accountability and respect. While we celebrate our journey, we are also focused on the future, fueled by the same passion and purpose that has always driven us. Thank you for supporting Team Revolution for 2 decades. Stay with us. The best is yet to come.
Public Opinion is brought to you by Cleasing Industrial Supplies Limited, Industrial Automation and Control Solutions.
Good evening, and welcome to Public Opinion. I'm Robian Williams. It's midweek, Wednesday, February 5, 2025. A special good evening to our friends on our YouTube platform. Thank you so much for joining us. We invite you to weigh in live in the comment section on today's Public Opinion. Now, we're going to talk about something that has been buzzing all over social media, have people in a frenzy. This year's Grammy Awards have honored the Bob Marley One Love music inspired by the film album with the Best Reggae Album Award. Now, this compilation, it features contemporary artists reimagining Marley's classics, bridging generations and genres. For context, the nominees in the Best Reggae Album category were Take It Easy by Collie Buddz, Party With Me by Vybz Kartel, Never Gets Late Here by Shenseea, Evolution by The Wailers, and yes, of course, Bob Marley One Love music inspired by the film by various artists. Now, following the awards show, there's been an ongoing conversation on social media platforms about Marley's win, about the win. Some say that from Marley in the category, then Ima go win it entirely, nobody else not go win it. Others believe same shouldn't win it. And there are some that's, they're calling out bias. So, in Public Opinion, we want to put the question to you, your reaction to the Bob Marley One Love soundtrack winning Best Reggae Album of the Year, inspired by the film. We want to put that question to you. What's your reaction? Starting with the comments on Facebook where Michael Carter is saying, there will be many more to come. Just last year, a co-worker of mine went on a cruise. When he returned to work, he asked me, who is Bob Marley? I told him. He said that the music, that they were having a great time listening to his music throughout the entire 5-day cruise from Romania. And she's saying that Bob Marley music is still fresh. It's going to be lasting forever and ever. Yes, Michael Carter, he says. Philip Jackson is saying, well, once the choice meets the standard of what they're looking for, it's not about favoritism. It's about criteria and all the other elements which they are looking for. That qualifies for the Grammy win. Karine Mackenzie is saying, remember that the Marley have somebody on the committee on the Grammy, so clearly that's conflict of interest. Don't you think they must cut that out if it's like some company having a competition and they ban workers and family members from entering? Yes, I've also seen such a comment on social media about the committee, the Grammy committee. Grace Williams Bailey is saying, well, for me, as long as it is up to the right standard, I have no problem with it. For all who have a problem with it, just encourage all the rest to do good music. Yeah, encourage all the other artists to do good music. Not saying them to do good music, but there is a criteria. Christopher Isaac says, unquestionably the most worthy no paya paya song round here. Nikki Becky says, substance over hype. And Natalie is saying, well done. Your reaction to Bob Marley One Love soundtrack, yeah? The music inspired by the film by various artists. Your reaction to it winning the best reggae album of the year at the 67th Grammy, yeah? What's your reaction? On Instagram, Chris Duncan is saying it says reggae category, reggae royalty, yeah? That's coming from Chris. And on our X platform, Terrence is saying good choice indeed, coming from Terrence. Let me see if I can get some of the comments. And it's reggae month, yeah? It is indeed reggae month. We're celebrating reggae. All right, so let me get some of the comments on our YouTube platform. David Nabar says, I'm very happy about that decision. Bob Marley all the way. Cheryl Wallace is saying, no one can do what Bob did. And King Lam says, this movie was global. Yeah, the film, the Bob Marley film. King Lam also saying the Bob Marley movie was great. Can't beat a global mob, but the king of reggae. All right. Yeah. Okay. Let me see if I can get in a few more. Tina says, legends never die. Bob deserves it because everywhere you go, it's a Bob Marley music playing. And again, Bob deserves it. I was saying earlier that once you hear Bob Marley, people think Jamaica. Once you hear Jamaica, people some people think Bob. Nathan Gale is saying that rubbish can't win Grammy. Yeah? I'm seeing here Bob Marley 100%. Michael Ray is saying if Bob Marley music is quality and his music and movie is international, then he deserved the win. John Black is saying that Bob Marley is the world greatest, and he a question who them be? Yeah? Let me see if I can get in a few more here. Amarildo Mackenzie is saying the Marleys don't win the Grammy all the time. No, not all the time. I think Kabaka Pyramid won it as well. Let me see if I can have more on that. Cheryl Wallace, yes, no one can do what Bob did. Yeah. King Lam says, while I believe that there was a bias towards the Marleys because of the greatness of Bob Marley, I believe that we shouldn't stand against this soundtrack of the Bob Marley One Love movie. Yeah. Michael Wright says, I am a supporter of other people. Of other people's national party, but I don't have a problem with. Okay, Michael Wright. That's the question. Don Leung is saying the album Legend could win every year. Still the greatest selling album. Yeah, Legend. Let me see. Ronald say make Cartel sit down with himself. With him just come self. Wow. Let me see if I can get in a few more. George Clive is saying Ziggy Marley's wife. All right. We want to stay away. We'll say that is a member of the committee that decides nominations and considerations for the Grammy. Any Marley nominated will win. All right, George Clive. We've seen that conversation as well. Affectionate Forrest is saying the universe love the universal revolutionary man. One Robert Nesta Marley. One Jamaica land we love. Radical View says substance over hype every time. Yeah. And Desnem is saying all who can deal with Bob's success, them will learn to deal with it. Yeah. I think
I think every nominee deserves a round of applause. I mean, these artists, they do good work. Yeah, they really and truly do good work, whether it be Shenseea, whether it be Vybz Kartel, the Wailers, yeah, and Collie Buddz. They all did well to get a Grammy nom. And, congratulations, hats off to all of them. They really put in some good work. But, at the end of the day, Bob Marley One Love music inspired by the film, by various artists, took home the Grammy. And I'm okay. I'm okay with that. Herman believes that Bob should be banned. Yeah, Bob should be banned. Randolph is saying Bob Marley music is quality and will live on forever. Why should mediocre music win anything? Present day dancehall is garbage. Wow. Yeah. Well, in Bob's words, them a got tired for see my face. Thank you guys so much for participating in Public Opinion. The Business Report is up next.
Public Opinion was brought to you by Cleasing Industrial Supplies Limited, industrial automation and control solutions.
Drive the most exciting new vehicles in Jamaica. Schedule your 2024 Ford Ranger pickup or Ford Everest 7-seater SUV test drive now. Call or visit KIG today.
The time by KIG is
6:34.
Annual eye examinations not only assess your vision but may be life-saving. Eye tests may detect serious health issues that go beyond your vision. Call IQ Optical to schedule your comprehensive eye test today.
The temperature by IQ Optical is
29 degrees Celsius in Kingston, 28 out west in Montego Bay. Hello, good evening, and welcome to Nationwide's Business Report. I'm Robianne Williams. Thousands of employees at the U.S. Agency for International Development, USAID, will be placed on leave from Friday, the agency says. USAID statement said the order would affect all direct hire personnel except those on mission critical functions, core leadership, and specially designated programs. Now, it's unclear exactly which jobs are affected. USAID posted on its website, and it said employees would be notified by Thursday afternoon. The Trump administration has said that USAID is wasting money and needs to align it with its policy priorities. China has accused the U.S. of making unfounded and false allegations about its role in the fentanyl trade to justify tariffs on Chinese products. The complaint was lodged with the World Trade Organization one day after U.S. President Donald Trump raised border taxes on Chinese goods by 10%, a measure he said was intended to address an influx of illegal drugs. Now, in the filing, China said the measures were discriminatory and protectionist and violated world trade rules. The dispute comes as Trump's plans for tariffs, a tax he has said he wants to see imposed on all foreign shipments into the country, are causing uncertainty across the global trade landscape. And finally, in the currency markets at the close of trading today, it cost 158 Jamaican dollars and 19 cents to buy $1 US, 197 Jamaican dollars and 43 cents to buy 1 British pound, and 111 Jamaican dollars and 54 cents to buy the Canadian dollar. That's the Business Report. I'm Robianne Williams. Good evening.
Pay nothing down on a shiny, brand new Hyundai vehicle with free loan payment until March 2025. Yes, get a 2024 Hyundai vehicle and get free loan payment until March 2025. 100% financing, 2 years free service, 0 processing fees, and other sweet goodies. Drive into the new year with your new ride. Goodbye, old car. Hello, Hyundai. Hyundai. For free payments promotion. Limited stock available. Offer while stocks last. Conditions apply.
Good morning and welcome to the newest addition to the Nationwide News Network family on Hot 102.
Good afternoon, I'm Erica Allen.
I'm Elizabeth Bennett.
In Nationwide News at this hour.
This is Nationwide. I'm Cliff Hughes.
And I'm Carol Narcisse.
Morning, welcome to This Morning on Hot 102.
Thank you so much for joining us. I'm Beverly Anderson Manley. Good morning and welcome.
For 20 years, Nationwide 90 FM has been your trusted source for breaking news, delivering critical updates when you needed them most. 3:37 in the afternoon, we interrupt to bring you more from the Wandon Klansman gang trial. Another guilty verdict. With fearless, fact-based journalism that unearthed the truth.
Between 2012 and 2018, nearly $5.5 million was taken from the track legend.
And insightful commentary that sparked meaningful conversations and shifted perspectives.
Welcome to the front page. I'm Emily Crooks. I am Naomi Francis. We're pleased to be joined by Roger Clark.
From the stories that shook Jamaica,
We're having an earthquake.
to those that inspired change and left lasting impacts.
In 2014, to be dealing with an issue such as the Marionine case.
Nationwide 90 FM has been there, diving deep into the issues that matter most to you. As we mark 20 years of dedicated service in 2025, we honor the trust you have placed in us and reaffirm our commitment to serving you, the Jamaican people, rooted in truth, fairness, and integrity. We continue to provide incisive reporting with a foundation of accountability and respect. While we celebrate our journey, we are also focused on the future, fueled by the same passion and purpose that has always driven us. Thank you for supporting Team Revolution for 2 decades. Stay with us. The best is yet to come.
Me grew up and see my granny save her money under her mattress. But at an old time something. That's where I save my money in the bank. And because I want to buy a little house, I also save in a building society. We have to be smart with how we save our money.
So, what if the bank crash?
Well, that's where JDIC comes in. Make I tell you something. With the JDIC Deposit Insurance Scheme, once you save your money in a commercial bank, merchant bank, or building society, your deposit is covered up to a maximum of $1.2 million per depositor per financial institution if the institution fails. All the information that you need is available at jdic.org, and you can follow their social media platform for more information.
JDIC, protecting deposits for you and me.
Enough power tool, big to small. Jack on my figure, dig the wall.
Our Total Tools.
Lead back a figure, trim the lawn. We have everything a job demand.
Total Tools.
We rent them, sell them, and fix them. Also give Total Tools a call. When I say home improvement, landscape construction, a Total Tools are your option. Home improvement, landscape construction, Total Tools are your option. Total Tools, located at 102 Main Street, Ocho Rios, 34 Slive Road, Kingston. And lot C6 Jacksaw, St. Anne's Bay. Call us today.
Good evening, listeners and viewers. It's 6:41 and it is time for the nation's business. I'm Siobhan Campbell.
And my name is Sanjay Lewis. The soundtrack for the Bob Marley One Love movie won this year's Best Reggae Album at the 67th Annual Grammy Awards on Sunday. The project features covers of some of Marley's best-known songs, such as Natural Mystic, Exodus, Waiting in Vain, Three Little Birds, One Love, Redemption Song, and Is This Love? Among the artists featured are Marley's grandchildren Skip and Mystic Marley, Shenseea, and Daniel Caesar, Wizkid, Jesse Ray, and Leon Bridge.
The project was released by Island Records last February. The other nominees in the category were Evolution by the Wailers, Never Gets Late here by Shenseea, Take It Easy by Collybuds, and Party With Me by Vybz Kartel. The recent win makes the 15th win for the Marley family. Marley's sons, Julian, Ziggy, Stephen, and Damian Jr. Gong Marley have contributed to the family's dominance over the years. And so we ask the question, is it time to break away from Marley's influence at the Grammys? And for that discussion, we're being joined by Professor of Culture, Gender and Society at the University of the West Indies, Donna Hope, and cultural commentator Clyde McKenzie. Good evening.
Good evening, gentlemen. Good evening. Good evening,
Good evening, all.
listeners.
Good to hear from both of you. So let's start with that very simple question. And ladies before gentlemen, Professor Hope, should we be moving away from the Marley legacy, which has been quite dominant at the Grammys, winning 15 of the, I believe, just over 40 contests?
Well, the Reggae Grammy Award, I think, was set up in 1985. And I think when we say moving away, we as Jamaicans or we as the voting members of NARAC, which is an American entity based in the US of A that does the final ranking and, sets the final decision. Because one of the concerns I have, every year we have the Reggae Grammy Award. As a part of the general Grammy Awards, we have a lot of questions in Jamaica, depending on who wins and who does not win. So if one of the Marleys or something affiliated with Marley wins, they're like, well, they're winning it too many times. There's some kind of monopolization of the award. If a non-Jamaican wins, they are concerned about whether or not it is connected to Jamaican life. And then if a dancehall artist wins, God forbid, we descend into the debacle about morality, immorality, erotic, and, not being reggae. So there are always these conversations. But the truth is that the Reggae Grammy Award is not something that is managed and or owned by Jamaica or by the people of Jamaica. So we have to also put that into the mix very clearly to continue the conversation.
Let me hear you, Clyde, on this same matter. Is it that the Grammy selection process is skewed in favor of the Marley legacy, primarily because these are individuals, or some of which, are not familiar with the reggae culture?
Well, you have to take into account a number of factors, one of which is the promotional modalities that might be available to the Marleys, which are sometimes not available to other candidates and nominees. The fact is that artists who are represented by labels with some kind of clout do have an edge in terms of voting. That is one of the things, in point of fact, many times when you have Jamaican artists being nominated for the Grammys in the reggae category, they do so from a well-established international label. The first one was Island Records, with Anthem. And, you go all along, from Beenie Man and so on, it's Virgin Records or with Sean Paul Atlantic and so on. So that's a very important consideration. The other one is, you have to also look at the fact that the Marleys have invariably provided content of very high quality. One of the things I like to tell people is that in many instances when the voters in NARAS are assessing the entrance, I think one of the things they do is to look at the songs and the recordings in the broadest possible terms. I don't think they really decide to look at the songs as reggae songs or as dancehall songs. They look to see what are the production values, have the production adhered to international standards, and if they have, then that gives them a good shot. Now, I'm saying that there is almost a two-tiered kind of approach now in terms of Grammy albums, because in days gone by, the album was something that is a little bit different from what it is today. I mean, now you have EPs that can qualify for a nomination into the album category. So there are a number of factors that, do influence the outcomes. But I would say that the Marleys have consistently provided material of a very high standard, and therefore, the question is, what do you do if you have a work that is highly deserving of a victory in the Grammy, what you do. And I think that is really the consideration. And I'm not knocking the work of the others, through the years. I mean, because other artists have provided quality work, but as you said, there might be a confluence of factors, not the least of which being that these people do provide high quality output.
So Professor Hope,
Can I put in the mix though before you ask the question that we had Roger Stephens here for several activities. I remember I think it was the 2008 Reggae Conference on the Mona campus, and he was asked that same question: what do you need to do to win a Reggae Grammy? And his short answer was have the last name Marley. And Roger Stephens is one of the persons who was there setting up that category in the original set, spaces, and was sitting on the Reggae Grammy committee for many years. And one of the things he explained back then was the kind of name recognition that Marley has globally does resonate more with the panels and the people who are a part of NARAS who vote. It's not a Jamaican audience mainly. It is a more international audience located in that cosmopolitan space. And so once the name Marley comes up, it gets far more attention than other works that have quality, have high quality, production quality, some of the things that we are talking about, Clive. So it comes down, and it's not about, like sales and how many record units or whatever units were sold. And a lot, it comes down to that name recognition and the kind of understanding maybe or acceptance over many years that name recognition comes with quality behind it. And people have asked, I remember seeing one conversation that maybe Ziggy Marley should stop entering, products for the Grammy Award because there's almost a preconceived notion that more than likely he might win out ahead of others who are coming into the fraternity, the music fraternity, and would like a chance to also earn one of these awards as a part of their own accolades for the work that they are doing in the industry.
If I might say this, Donna, one of the things we have to bear in mind is that the Marley, as I pointed to, their promotional modality, that would inure to the whole question of name recognition too.
Yeah, they're a globally recognized brand, yes.
They have that innate capacity to be recognized, yes. And they are usually in the context of these situations where they have the promotional edge in many instances, which is something that goes with being affiliated with major labels or with distributors that have the resources to provide some promotional muscle for you. And so, as I pointed, the people like Beanie and Sean Paul and
Shabaran,
yes, Shabba, all of those who have won, or not all, but many of those who have won, have come from stables that have the kind of resources that can give them some kind of promotional boost. Because
I think both like that, and you're saying promotional boost in the kind of cosmopolitan setting, U.S. and elsewhere outside of Jamaica, that would resonate with the voting members of NARAS, which a lot of some of the products that are coming out of Jamaica and landing on the final cut list for the nominees may not have that kind of machinery behind them.
Behind them. That's correct.
Yeah,
if I may though, Professor Hope, and I want you to expand on a point that you made earlier. Shenseea, for example, was nominated for her reggae album, but it was primarily known as a dancehall and a crossover pop act. Are the Grammys even clear on what they define as reggae anymore?
No, they are not. And one of the things that we have done or have not done properly is claimed each of our genres explicitly. So we have a challenge in Jamaica where we still spend time moralizing and sermonizing about what is good music and what is bad music. Outside of Jamaica, people see Jamaican music as Jamaican music. And for them, the sounds that come out of Jamaica are all, many people who are not Jamaican, who are not black, for example, see everything. They just lump everything under one banner, reggae. So it's like different kinds of reggae, but you have have like a pure reggae that is more classical. So many people see our music stories as reggae stories, as I like to call them, because that is how we also have marketed the music outside of Jamaica. So we have worked in that categorization. In Jamaica, we have the reggae and we have the dancehall and we have the different conversations around them, and we have a clarity as to what is reggae and what is dancehall in Jamaica. But outside of Jamaica, it's not marketed in that way, and so people are expecting that these are the same reggae sounds, but that there are different strains of it. We have not done a good job of categorizing it very carefully and therefore solidifying the disjunctions outside of Jamaica.
So, Professor, I would like to ask you then, just give me, and you can come in after this, Clyde Mackenzie. Just, Professor, is it a situation where the music has so transcended us as in Little Jamaica that we've sort of lost control of it?
Well, let me say that tell people that, inside Jamaica is the home of reggae, is the indigenous home of dancehall, is the indigenous home of ska. But when you travel outside of Jamaica, if you're not careful, many people don't even remember that, the home of ska, that ska started in Jamaica. I was in California a couple of years back. I had a lot of time trying to explain to some students at UCLA that ska comes from Jamaica. That connection has been severed. We have done very badly at maintaining.
Yes, it has
very
been.
big in the UK. We have done very badly at maintaining that connection. Reggae is global music, it's world music. France has a huge reggae industry that is still connected to Jamaica, but again, very divorced from it. Dancehall has gone very far, and people are making all kinds of meanings of it. Jamaica is not careful, and the histories are not properly written, and we are not claiming it ourselves. There will come a time when people know the music came from somewhere, but it has morphed into world music. And they can't trace exactly, and that is happening a lot in different parts of the world. And so we have to be clear on that. What are we doing in terms of marketing our own selves and our culture and Jamaica through the music and holding on to it? Having an award that is the one we look up to every year, which is the Grammy Award in the U.S. When we tried in Jamaica to have several different award ceremonies, glad you can't reel off some of them. For me, Richie B had one, then there was and none of them had any traction. We never held on to any.
Clyde, you wanted to come
Go
in?
ahead.
Go ahead.
Well, that is true. That is true, Donna. What I will say is this. There's another thing, ironically, which we might have benefited from the lumping of reggae and dancehall together, particularly at the Grammy level, because a number of times there has been threats that, they were going to discontinue the reggae category because they were not getting sufficient nominations. Now, one of the things that we have to bear in mind is that dance hall tends to be much slower in terms of producing album material, right? That's a historical thing. And as such, what was happening is that you would find that many of the albums which came to the fore were mostly reggae albums because they have a longer gestation period, and they are not as current or as topical, and so they tend to fare better as an album product. But one of the things that has happened recently is that because the people at NARAS have now allowed EPs to be considered as part of the album product. I think dancehall now has a much better angle in terms of
dancehall though, Clyde, because Coffee won with an EP. And Coffee
newer
art. Probably of newer artists, because Coffee won with an EP and she was not considered dancehall.
No, I mean, the Coffee is one of those situations because, dancehall, reggae, with Coffee, it's kind of up in the air, But
yes.
Yes. So I'm with you on that. But the thing is, I think the EP, the permission of the EP into the mix does broaden the opportunities for dancehall, I think, as opposed to, when it was the strict album with a certain minimum number of songs and all of that. So that has helped in terms of the dancehall genre. But I think the real challenge, if we didn't have the reggae and the dancehall coming together at the time that they were, perhaps we would have been out of a category because we would not have been providing sufficient material for assessment at the time.
But and I know the gentlemen are coming in, but I think having had a music industry that kind of came together about 1950 or so, Jamaica should long have set up its own. We have an award ceremony.
We should have
long have had one that is now recognized and people flying in for it because we are
just like how the Latin people did with the Latin Grammys. I mean, we could have had an affiliation with NARA. And say, well, okay, we have our own division, whether we want to do it the Caribbean way or want to do it in just the Jamaican way. We could have done that, but we haven't.
We should have. We have not, but we should have. And as I said, many of the fledgling
ones
did not make it through. And now we have several others that are doing different things, Caribbean Music Awards, IRAMA, all of them. But they are Caribbean focused, and none of them are based here, even though they will visit here. But Jamaica as a music-centric creative place, we do a lot of music and are recognized globally. We should have had an award ceremony that is pushed by probably a mix of public and private sector funding and people. And
the efforts were made. I was part of that of a group in 2009, I think, that had this. I mean, it was a massive show. I mean, first class production, but was marred in politics, And
I remember that. That was one of the better ones.
We're essentially out of time, Professor. But I would like to get an extension of what you were just discussing. This matter of the Jamaicanizing of the music and the maintenance of that Jamaican culture in our music. Is it that we're not doing enough here locally to ensure that link between Jamaica and our music is maintained, where only just a few internationally, globally recognized names essentially come up for review when it comes to the Grammys?
I think we need to do more work, but remember that a lot of the people who enter the music industry do so out of their own interest. They are Jamaican, they love music, and they go into the business. By the time they begin to produce music at that level, the networks and the connections are not often solidified. So we don't have a structure here that would pull people in and say, let's do things in a way that produces this type of music and ensures that it is connected to Jamaica. A lot of our younger artists now in the dancehall industry, their managers are not even Jamaican. They are being managed by non-Jamaicans. So you have a lot of that hip-hopping across borders. But I just want to say before we leave, I need to remind everyone, the soundtrack for the One Love movie, which has 17 tracks on it, was not the one that was put up for the Grammy. It was a secondary product. It has 10 tracks, and it's called Bob Marley, One Love, and in brackets, music inspired by the soundtrack. Film. So there's a lot of, what we had was a lot of sliding across people's minds, and people just said it's the soundtrack. That, I think, also helped it to win, because it was connected so strongly to the very powerful movie that came out in February 14, 2024. We just run with it because it was an excellent movie, a lot of emotion, a lot of conversations about Jamaica, Bob Marley, a lot of historical discussions. We couldn't. I wanted Vybz Kartel to win, but I wanted a lot of discussion that way. But I knew that it would not be possible.
That's an interesting note to end.
If Kartel had won, we'll be discussing it for the next month.
I'm sure that would have been quite the talking point. That is the Professor of Culture, Gender and Society at the University of West Indies, Donna Hope, and cultural commentator Clyde McKenzie. Thank you for joining us both. Have a good evening.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Have a good evening.
More after these messages, listeners.
Good morning and
and welcome to the newest addition to the Nationwide News Network family on Hot 102.
Good afternoon, I'm Erica Allen.
I'm Elizabeth Bennett.
In Nationwide News at this hour.
This is Nationwide. I'm Cliff Hughes.
And I'm Carol Narcisse.
Morning, welcome to This Morning on Hot 102.
Thank you so much for joining us. I'm Beverly Anderson Manley. Good morning and welcome.
For 20 years, Nationwide 90 FM has been your trusted source for breaking news, delivering critical updates when you needed them most.
3:37 in the afternoon, we interrupt to bring you more from the One Don Klansman gang trial. Another guilty verdict.
With fearless, fact-based journalism that unearthed the truth.
Between 2012 and 2018, nearly $5.5 million was taken from the track legend.
And insightful commentary that sparked meaningful conversations and shifted perspectives.
Welcome to the front page. I'm Emily Crooks. I am Naomi Francis. We're pleased to be joined by Roger Clark.
From the stories that shook Jamaica,
we're having an earthquake,
to those that inspired change and left lasting impacts.
In 2014, to be dealing with an issue such as the Marianine case.
Nationwide 90 FM has been there, diving deep into the issues that matter most to you. As we mark 20 years of dedicated service in 2025, we honor the trust you have placed in us and reaffirm our commitment to serving you, the Jamaican people. Rooted in truth, fairness, and integrity, we continue to provide incisive reporting with a foundation of accountability and respect. While we celebrate our journey, we are also focused on the future, fueled by the same passion and purpose that has always driven us. Thank you for supporting Team Revolution for 2 decades. Stay with us. The best is yet to come.
Welcome back, listeners. We're into the third and final hour, and we are going to shift focus now to the Domestic Violence Act. Human Rights Lobby Group Jamaicans for Justice, JFJ, is again pressing for an update on the status of a Joint Select Committee tasked with reviewing that act. JFJ made the call in an open letter to Gender Minister Olivia Grange on Tuesday. JFJ says domestic disputes remain one of the country's leading causes of violent crime.
Citing data from 2022, the group says over 6,200 women and 2,500 men sought help from the Jamaica Constabulary Force's Domestic Violence Intervention Centers that year. According to the group's executive director, Mikel Jackson, this points to the need for necessary and urgent updating of the Domestic Violence Act.
I think when we look at some of the more serious offenses being committed in the country, including murder, a lot of them stem from domestic disputes. And we have taken note of the commitments made by our Prime Minister, Dr. Andrew Holness, that he's committed to making the necessary adjustment to the Domestic Violence Act. And notwithstanding the changes made in 2023, the more substantive, comprehensive review of the Domestic Violence Act has not yet been done. I put on record that there is not even a definition of domestic violence in the legislation. So there are significant changes that remain to be made, and I think it's important that we move with alacrity to making those changes.
That's Mikel Jackson. She's the executive director of JFJ. According to the entity, there's been no update on the progress of the Joint Select Committee's work, despite 2 sittings in March and April last year. JFJ says it submitted written recommendations to the committee on May 15, 2024. Following this, it says it inquired via email on September 11, 2024, about the lack of meetings.
Despite being told by the clerk that an invitation to present its submission would be issued subject to the committee's decision, Ms. Jackson says no further communication has come. The JFJ has described the lack of updates as unacceptable. Joining us to discuss further is JFJ's Policy Research and Advocacy Manager, Jade Williams. Good evening, Jade.
Good evening to you both, and good evening to you listeners.
Thank you. Help our listeners understand. Well, I mean, in our opening, we would have given just an overview, but tell us from your perspective the current status of the Joint Select Committee's work on the Domestic Violence Act.
Well, we saw the committee meet twice in 2024. Unfortunately, since then, we have not had a further sitting. I know we made written submissions. I'm sure other entities and individuals would have made written submissions as well. And part of a committee's work would normally involve oral submissions being made to the committee. Unfortunately, we've seen no further meetings, and we did follow up, as you read in your report earlier, and we got no specific dates. And since then, no meetings have been scheduled on the parliamentary schedule. So that is very concerning for us.
No, certainly I recall that the Domestic Violence Act was amended in January of last year, if I'm not too far off. But I recognize that that was just a few small changes to bring it up to standard, but there was still a lot that was left out that required it to go to a Joint Select Committee in the first place.
Certainly. It was actually amended in December of 2023. And there were some changes. They improved the fines that were in the Act. They also allowed for other persons to make applications for the orders under the legislation. But even these recommendations that would have come out of the previous review by Joint Select Committee that produced a report in 2018, that committee would have said there is a need for, even as we accept these recommendations, a comprehensive review of the legislation that should happen in its own Joint Select Committee. So we were heartened after we saw these amendments. We had written to the minister, and we were heartened to see that there was a Joint Select Committee named and that it would have begun meeting in 2024. So what we're concerned with is now the lack of movement with that committee. Having made our submissions ourselves, we'd want to know, has the committee deliberated on any of the recommendations that have been made, and what is the timeline for us to know what those deliberations have been?
And for those of us or those listening who may not necessarily be familiar with the Domestic Violence Act, what are some of those proposal put forward that you think are so necessary, why this needs to go to the Joint Select Committee and finally be passed by both houses of Parliament?
Well, I think first and foremost that we have no definition of domestic violence in the legislation. And while through public education and sensitization, some of the entities have been more sensitized as to what domestic violence is, to have the legislation itself not define it is extremely concerning, so we think that needs to be filled immediately. One of the concerns that JFK has as well is that the way the penalties for our orders are written in the Domestic Violence Act, as we understand it, those penalties would only apply to, for example, protection orders, whereas the Act allows for both protection and occupation orders. And there it doesn't speak to what a breach of an occupation order would bring. And that is something that a comprehensive review would remedy. I think if we were to bring up another significant thing, is that a lot of persons who experience domestic violence would want to see compensation. And our Act particularly does not allow for the court to make compensatory orders. So not for medical injury or for loss of employment or loss of earnings that a victim would have encountered due to their abuse. The court can't consider those things. That victim would have to make a separate application in the civil court at their own expense. So those are things we would want a committee to consider to see if we can increase the powers of our court there to make further orders to better protect our victims.
I believe we've been talking about bringing this act up to date for a good nearly couple decades now, if I recall. I mean, the first mention of this was back in the Portia Simpson Miller administration of bringing an up-to-date Domestic Violence Act. Why do you feel that we've been having such difficulty getting this over the hurdle?
I can't imagine what the difficulty is, though. I think we just need to have some initiatives to stay committed to the effort. As I said, we have seen numerous starts and stops where we make announcements, we say that we're committed, we start to meet, and then there is silence. So we need to keep the momentum when it is that we have committed to addressing the issue.
And have you been able at any point, Jade, to have conversations with the Portfolio Minister, Olivia Grange, as to what possibly could be holding up this process, such an important process as you indicated?
Well, we have not had communication from the minister. When we wrote to her in December of 2023, she had not responded to that correspondence either. But to this open letter, we have not yet received a response from the minister, but hopefully with this traction around the issue, we will be able to get some updates as to a timeline for the committee and for this review.
And precisely, you've spoken with the minister and you're still waiting for some information as to when those submissions will be allowed. What particular measures would you like to see in a more updated Domestic Violence Act beyond the proper defining of domestic violence? What else do you think is substantial that needs to be added?
Well, besides, of course, the court being able to make orders for compensation of the victims, I think that is extremely important. A lot of victims have complained about their inability to recover from these domestic violence incidents because of the financial losses that they would have incurred that are not thought about generally in the Domestic Violence Act itself. But another thing is the way how our penalties are applied and the way how our orders are listed in the Act. I don't want to give away all of our recommendations because, of course, we're hoping to make these oral submissions before the committee. But one of our public recommendations that we would have is to see, for example, the penalties, which we acknowledge that they were raised last year, but we think that they can be stronger in having a tiered approach. So we looked at the legislation in Trinidad and Tobago, for example, where they would tier the response, the penalties, based on the number of reoffending that the person would have done. So on your first offense, you would incur this penalty. On your second, a higher penalty, and on your third, a much higher penalty, or any subsequent infractions. We think that would make a much stronger scheme for our legislation here, and it's something that we would really want the committee to be able to fully consider.
Okay, and just finally from me, Jade, when people think domestic violence, they essentially think men on women violence, but it's more than that. And as you've rightfully pointed out, it does feed into our culture of violence that we have here in Jamaica. Do you think that the lack of interest in these kind of issues is what is impeding us from bringing this to a completion?
I think it could be a part of it. But I know that so many Jamaicans are affected by domestic violence. I don't know if we have come to a conclusion that even with these changes, it will not be effective. But I think we have to just commit to actually making the changes and seeing what effect they would have. But surely, culture is having an effect on how we are moving forward with addressing the issue of domestic violence.
I have to leave it there. Jade Williams is the Policy Research and Advocacy Manager at Jamaicans for Justice. Please keep us updated, Jade, on this matter, and thank you so much for your time.
Certainly, and thank you.
All the best. We're going to take the break, and then we will open the phone lines. The numbers to call, 630-937124, 618-8255. We take the break and come back to hear from you.
We come back with the Watchman, and then we'll have your calls, listeners.
Yeah.
The Watchman. Exploring issues shaping our society, government, and business. Provocative, unconventional. Dr. Henley Morgan is The Watchman.
Good evening. Dr. Andrew Holness's well-earned academic credentials. The prevalence of persons using the title doctor before their names is a perplexing topic. Let's ease into it with a little humor. For years, I would pick up the now deceased octogenarian Iselin Francis at her home on 3rd Street in Rema, Trenchtown, to transport her to church. One morning, with a stern face, she insisted I come inside. She wanted to have a little talk with me. The conversation had an ominous tone. It started with a question. What kind of doctor you is? This was followed by another question, which was more like an accusation. Why you going around telling people say you is a doctor when you is not? Without allowing me time to respond, she continued. The other day me tell you say me sick, and you send driver fi take me go a doctor. You is not a doctor. I thought of explaining that not all doctors are medical doctors, but chose instead to end the conversation and head off to church. Sister Francis was a simple and unlettered woman who, like many in the society, was genuinely confused about the proliferation in the use of the title doctor. Around the middle of last year, no less a person than our Prime Minister Andrew Holness seemed to have joined the bandwagon, with those in his inner circle and even newspaper editorials adding doctor to his many titles. I have been asked more than a few times, sometimes by mischievous people seeking political fodder to use against the Prime Minister, how he came by the title. A brief and admittedly oversimplified enlightenment is warranted. Doctorate degrees and the corresponding title doctor typically signify that the holder has achieved the highest scholarly qualification after years of demanding study in his or her chosen field. One can attain the title doctor in medicine, dentistry, government, public administration, engineering, information technology, theology, or as in my case, education administration, just to name a few disciplines. This is not to be confused with honorary doctorate degrees, which are awarded usually by universities to persons deemed worthy of recognition for outstanding accomplishments and contributions to humanity, society, or in a particular field of endeavor. The policies of many universities generally ask that recipients of honorary degrees refrain from using the misleading title doctor before their name within the broader community and from listing the award among academic qualifications, such as when seeking a job. A release from the Office of the Prime Minister, OPM, stated that in 2024 the Prime Minister completed a professional Doctor of Law and Policy degree at Northeastern University with the main campus located in Boston, Massachusetts, USA. The university, which was established 1898, is accredited and is recognized as a top-tier university in the United States. It was not clear from the release, but it could be reasonably assumed that given the Prime Minister's demanding schedule, much of the study was online. That would not detract from the fact that with bachelor's and master's degrees from the University of the West Indies, his ascendancy to the top of scholastic attainment is well earned and much deserved. Dr. the Most Honorable Andrew Holness, ON, PC, MP. Give honor where honor is due. Think on these things.
Produced by Agency for Inner City Renewal, AIR, and recorded in the Jamming Studio Trenchtown, a breath of fresh air bringing change to the inner city.
Taboo topics. Voyagings after dark.
Riveting discussions.
Celebrity news and interviews.
Topics that are shunned by society.
And everything else in between.
Voyagings After Dark with Kareem Voyagings each and every Wednesday, 8 to 11 p.m.
Voyagings After Dark.
No topic is too taboo or hard to discuss. Come get your mind blown and your curiosity explored.
Voyagings After Dark.
Tune in to Cliff Hughes Online this Friday, February 7 from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. for the 16th staging of the Restorative Justice Conference. It all goes down at the AC Hotel under the theme Healing the Nation, the Restorative Power of Justice in Jamaica. Hear from Minister of Justice Delroy Chuck and other stakeholders speak about the work and impact of the restorative justice in our schools, churches, and communities. So tune in to Cliff Hughes Online this Friday, February 7 from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. It's the 16th staging of the Restorative Justice Conference at the AC Hotel under the theme Healing the Nation, Restorative Power of Justice in Jamaica. All this and more only on Nationwide 90 FM, the new revolution in media. This broadcast is brought to you by the Ministry of Justice, the host of the Restorative Justice Conference. Restorative Justice, justice that heals.
Welcome back, listeners. It's 7:24, and with the few minutes left, we're taking your calls. The numbers are 630-937-124 and 618-8255. I understand we have Bobby on the line. Good evening.
Good evening, Siobhan. Good evening, Sandra.
Good evening, Bobby. How are you?
Well, I am doing great. So happy to hear your voice. The both of your voice that everybody is okay. Yeah, man. Today, I hear Cliff was interviewing Marlon Morgan. And boy, I tell you, if Cliff was a judge, you see, and I do something wrong, and here say me, or go on face, I would fret eternally, boy. But trust me though, I'm so happy that Marlon Morgan stand up and play the ball them good to him,
Mm-hmm.
And so, what I want to say to the media, when I cannot tell Dayton Campbell that when he's addressing the public, he must tone down and be more professional.
I'm sure that this discussion has been had with Dr. Campbell, but Dr. Campbell has his style, and he's adopted that style, and he believes that he needs to be that lightning rod to elevate the positions of the People's National Party.
But the fact is, man, to how him talk, man, I wonder how people really sit down and listen to him and him call himself a doctor. If he was my medical doctor, I would have changed him long time.
But Bobby, there's time and place also, because when you're on the political platform, the way you behave, when you match against when you're in a private setting or even as a medical doctor, is probably different.
And then furthermore, and even his leader for the party, sometimes when I even hear him, sometimes his utterance, I have to wonder to myself, is them really want to lead Jamaica? It would be into a serious problem,
As Sanjay said, the time and place, Bobby.
Yeah.
The Mark Golding you hear on the campaign trail is not the Mark Golding you hear in the Houses of Parliament. So they tailor their message to the audience, so to speak.
But sometimes, even when you hear him in Parliament and him get angry, you have to wonder if this is an opposition in waiting. No, man, no, sit down properly and listen to him, man. Because trust me, no, they to me and also to the public, they don't fit the criteria of leading the government of Jamaica. Okay, then, thank you.
All right, Bobby.
All right, all the best.
Carl, good evening. How you doing, man?
Good evening. I think Bobby Fake give God thanks to Dayton Campbell.
Why is that?
And the reason why I said that me not transport. And although you see some people will take terrible driver, some people doesn't take them. So people are analysing Dayton Campbell and in leader. So I think we should give. Remember where Dayton Campbell did do it, Peter Philip, man, so we should be happy. I know everybody in Jamaica idiot like somebody do on Dayton Campbell chat rubbish. And like,
I hear you, Bobby, but I think there's a certain segment of the population that eats things like that up, I see Godfrey Smith saying sure he doesn't get any less disgusting though, whether in the parliament or outside. But there's a segment of the Jamaican population that just eats up that kind of crassness. I've never quite understood it, but he would not do it if it did not appeal to who he is attempting to appeal to.
Anyhow, Chevron. Hello?
Yes, I hear you, Carl.
I'm hearing you. Go ahead.
Anyhow, I heard Golin yesterday evening saying doesn't trust the Prime Minister of Jamaica. And when I heard it on 5 o'clock news yesterday evening, I have to laugh. Because Golin, I always say Golin for pint when I'm finger. When I talk, I look at a big finger, pint back. If you not pint back, right pan him. And Golin, for years, people have been asking you if you are a British citizen and you used to flash the Jamaica passport until he glean a penny up on Sunday evening. That no mistrust. Kev?
I hear you now, Bobby.
Now, this is
Carl, I hear you, Carl.
That is mistrust.
But that's a mistrust of a different type, though. I think he's referring specifically to the Prime Minister's, I would say, lack of a position at this point on the matter of the CCJ. But even then, I think if we were serious about this constitutional reform matter, that would not stop us. It's simply a matter that I don't think the People's National Party is serious about the constitutional reform matter. Because as much as I hear them suggesting that they want to see this done, why tight to an instant issue that it seems that we have no consensus on? And even then...
Evan?
Yes?
Come in, have a few more supplements and put in fast with you. Not even my Prime Minister. I heard some people say the Prime Minister must get Bruce Golin and PJ Patterson and like the two, the Prime Minister and the leader of the opposition, and come to a solution concerning move from the Privy Council. My Prime Minister can't come to me with that. I would take days off of the road to walk to tell the people themselves.
But I ask you this, do you think...
Hold on the chef, Evan. The Privy Council must put to a referendum if the people want to stay or they want to leave.
And you would accept if the majority of Jamaicans said that they would go with the CCJ during a referendum, you'd accept
I will have to accept the people's choice.
Oh, okay. All right.
But don't you think, though, Carl, it is still necessary that both gentlemen have a sit down with a Bruce Golin, with a PJ Patterson, to iron out those details to move the process forward? Because the process is now ultimately stalled.
The only iron out there is to Golin to accept, say, once you want to move from the Privy Council in England, it must give the people of the country an opportunity for what they want. And the argument closed there, so.
But I have to ask you this though, Carl. Aren't you interested in knowing what the Prime Minister's stance is currently on that matter of Jamaica's final appellate court?
Prime Minister said we are doing it in a 2 chance, and I will stand by that with him.
That's not what I ask you though, Carl. I want you to, aren't you interested in knowing where the Prime Minister stands on that discussion? Does he now support the CCJ? Does he now support staying at the Privy Council? Does he want Jamaica's final appellate court, as I believe he had suggested in the past, to come here to Jamaica? Aren't you interested in to know what that stance is at least?
Let me answer you this way. Valerie Nita Robinson said we must not leave the Privy Council. They don't have that. And Valerie Nita Robinson is a comrade.
And she has her view. And others have their view.
So if the Prime Minister should come up and come with a view when he don't want to leave the Privy Council and he want to come to the Caribbean Court of Justice, then I will have to accept it. Anyhow, within less than 1 year, it is through corruption the KCC find themselves in.
Well, we'll see how matters turn out over at the
Right.
KCMC. I don't know if we can comment on that at the moment.
All right, the next two are when Miss Paula Lewin resume office.
I'm not sure the exact date, but I believe not too long now.
Okay. The next one, when Pantana Christie leave Integrity.
I believe
No Integrity Commission.
I don't know if they're leaving, but their current tenure ends in, I believe, March, April.
Wait a minute, I'm not coming here till February.
My understanding is February, Siobhan.
It's February, man. I make me job down, man.
No, but it would be like end of February. So I said March, April. Yeah, March, April. Because you have to tidy these things up and all that.
But that should be tidying up long time before. It should even, not even 15 should have catch him at the office there.
What I want to know is, though, as I understand the Gleaner has posited that Mr. Panton should not step aside. And I'm wondering, is it up to him? Is it up to Mr. Panton? Is it up to Justice Panton to whether he wants to leave, or is it up to whether the government is willing to renew his tenureship?
I wouldn't expect North Street, knowing the history of North Street, and know where North Street politically lines stand. I wouldn't expect North Street to come up with anything better than that in one Panton to remain.
No, but I'm beyond that. I'm so wondering, is it a situation where he has the option to stay, or is it just a matter that his tenure has come to an end and he must step aside unless the government chooses to allow him to remain? That's what I want clarity on, because based on what I read in that Gleaner article a while back, they suggested that he can just stay.
Yeah.
And I wonder, is that the case? Is it that he can simply just decide to stay?
No. So are you saying then, Sheva, that we don't have a government leading a country, that a government could employ you, and when your contract come to an end, you just tell me say you want to stay on?
You know,
it's not up to them, Siobhan, based on my understanding.
Exactly.
No, it's not up to them.
And that is my understanding as well, which is why the Gleaner's article came as a bit of a shock to me. Not the article, the Gleaner's editorial came as a bit of a shock to me. When they suggested that he should not step aside. How would it be his choice?
And every time you say anything in a Gleaner, sometimes if you just turn over that page, that we know where the Gleaner is coming from. And that's why they couldn't pay workers idea.
I don't know if the two are necessarily related.
They couldn't increase the workers. They might try to hold on back my workers and them not pay them.
But
if I losing money.
If I can go back to it,
how they carry them story nowadays. Nobody don't interested in the Gleaner anymore. It is coming to an end.
My understanding is, and I could be wrong, but I stand corrected, it is really the Prime Minister, in consultation with the opposition leader, that would make the recommendation to the Governor General. So the commissioners can indicate that they would want to continue, but the Prime Minister can decide that he's not, the contracts will not be, in a sense, renewed, or new commissioners will be appointed. Let me not say contracts to be renewed, because
so are you saying
for renewal.
Are you saying then, with what happened for the last year and a half, my Prime Minister could want to keep them there back?
Well,
that's what you are trying to say to me?
Again, as I indicated, it's really the Prime Minister, and the final decision is really the Governor General's decision. But we understand, based on the system that we operate in, whatever advice or recommendation is given to the Governor General, he typically moves forward with it. That's the tradition that we're going off.
Okay, anyhow, I'll leave now, the last one. Chev, I want to ask you, I heard the Minister of Information, since Evelyn, and say them did make preparation for if country withdraw or withhold what they used to help. Them have buffers would continue to pick up things. Let me ask you something as a bright man. I mean, I'm not a bright man, so I have to ask the bright people.
Carl, you say that, you know? Well,
No,
go ahead, Carl. I know you're trying to set me up with the question, but go ahead.
Just before you come with that question, Siobhan, sorry, one correction. It says the Governor General shall appoint the executive director and the other directors acting on the recommendation of the commission. So I stand corrected. It's not the Prime Minister, but acting on the recommendation of the commission. That's what I'm seeing here. Mm-hmm. All right, go ahead, Carl, with the question. I just wanted to correct that.
I heard Ms. Dana Dixon, the information minister, say something this evening. And when me hear say, if you reach home, I have to rest my back. You know, sometimes you drive whole day, you have to make sense. You lean on hard piece. So me lean up in one corner from my garage. And I consider, say, if me are here properly, what she is saying. Just like when me hear Khalida Reynolds say, me depend social media by weekend. And I say Khalida Reynolds used to work nationwide. The Jamaica export aisle to Trinidad. I have to call somebody when we know in authority and ask if Khalida Reynolds is still righted.
I don't think it's oil. I think it's bunker fuel that we're exporting.
Right. No, man, he said they refined it here.
Yes, for fuel. Fuel we export. It's not the oil. We take the oil, we refine it, and we send it back as bunker fuel.
And when me hear that, when me see Saturday evening, I want to say, if come here, she say, Trinidad now go like where she go say no, say Jamaica is doing better than Trinidad. And me have to call somebody in authority Saturday evening and ask them and send a clip, go give to them, and the person say, yes, that's true. Anyhow, come back to the Minister of Information. I want to ask you something, Chef, but you're bright, man. For we today in a position where we are today for the Minister of Information to say what she said today at the press conference, somebody is leading the country with some brain.
Wait a second, Carl. Obviously, any government worth its salt would have contingencies in place in the case where a foreign entity decides to withdraw support. I mean, I could not imagine that our country would put itself in such a position, so reliant as we had been in the past on foreign aid, that we'd really go forward in a situation where a change in government could undermine that and be okay with that position. I can't see that how that would be in the best interest of Jamaica.
You know, for the last since that era coming, me I pick up some bread and news. Me I feel wonder if a Jamaica may there. Because
but it's not the government you should worry about in a car. It's a lot of the non-governmental organizations that rely on these aid agencies to survive. As I understand, at least 2 agencies in the country looking to cut them staff by something about 70 to 80%.
Is that the Minister of Information say them did a prepare. That is a word we couldn't use in the 90s. No, that's where I want to go with you. That means to say the buffer. This government, I am a part of the Jamaica Labour Party. The buffer.
But don't take that to mean, Carl, that programs will not be affected. You know, there are still programs and things that are.
Program will affect it, but not as bad as if it did happen in the 90s. That's what I'm trying to say to you.
Agreed, Carl. Is that what you want to say? I agree that the situation now where Jamaica finds itself in, we are far more stable, that we can stand on our own 2 feet in the instant case where funding for some programs are pulled.
Oh, my.
All right. No, Carl. We can't give you no more time, man. You push. We can't give you no more time, Carl. All right, Carl. Thank you for the call.
Apply for your Sagicor Bank Preferred Prepaid MasterCard today. Load your remittances for everyday spending. Receive cash transfers from any local bank. The time by Sagicor Bank is...
It's 7:42. Faithful, good evening. How are you doing?
Good evening,
Sanjay, good evening, Shaman.
Good evening, Faithful.
If I work and to become a mason, and I get my mason certificate, would that be classified same as following a bandwagon?
Following a
bandwagon? What do you mean?
I become a part of a bandwagon.
What do you mean? I don't understand. As in you work to become a mason? I'm confused by the question.
No, I'm not following. You're saying that if you...
So you have some person who already been a mason and have the masonry license certificate, and I work towards it and I become a masonry too. Would that mean that I become a bandwagon?
No, I don't think so. I would say no.
Okay, I was wondering the classification that it's sufficient. They say the prime minister studied to become a doctorate.
Mm-hmm.
And what is do that he joined the bandwagon?
No, I mean I wouldn't say so, but in some aspects people will say the bandwagon of individuals who want to achieve their doctorate. So I guess it depends on the context in which the person put it. But in the general terminology that people normally talk about following a bandwagon, it would not necessarily be in that respect.
Let me just say, that's a silly thing. For someone to attempt to better their educational status at any point in their life, to call that following a bandwagon is just, it's silly.
That's a bandwagon that I would want to follow too, to better myself. That's not a bad one. But again, when people talk about following the bandwagon, it's something that is bad, so to speak.
Well, I become a person and stuff like that.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Right. So I was there listening, and I want to mistake. I know I'm not the brightest guy around town, but I'm good God, man. Come on. It could be better. Right. That's
and be reminded, the area of the topic that the Prime Minister did for his doctorate thesis is quite important to Jamaica in relation to crime and development, and I was quite impressed by the area of study that he chose.
Yeah, man. I don't bring that. I was just wondering about the connotation that was used, that he joined the bandwagon, and I don't think that I remember I'm not the brightest guy around too, but I don't think that was the right word to use. That was where I have a problem. I wouldn't say I have a problem, mister, but that's where I have a misunderstanding. I would say to myself, maybe it's me that get it wrong.
No.
I didn't get it wrong.
No.
Okay, thank you, sir. That's it.
All right.
All the best.
Lady J, good evening.
Hi, good evening, Chevron.
How are you doing?
I am doing great. Thanks for asking, my brother. I want to congratulate Nationwide for 20 years. Excellent years. It was a uphill task, but thank God you came and Cliff, you all conquered. Yes. And I celebrate with you all. I remember one evening while I think it was 2007 or somewhere thereabouts, tuning in at 5 o'clock, and the everything just died on the station.
That was when we were on the AM band.
Yes, on the AM. We were unplugged by another.
Yeah, I think it was in 2008. I think it was about 2008, Lady J, because I was at Nationwide at that time as a producer.
Oh, okay. I said, me sit down and beat the radio. I beat the radio, hoping to get something. And when I get the full understanding, I cried. And I just pray that Cliff get over this, and I stuck with him. Even to today. And thanking God, with God, and with all of you, the team, the revolutionary team who came along, he has a eyes for brilliancy, He have a eyes that, he just pick out the rising star them and let them go. And I'm thanking that I hear 20 years. And I hope I live to see more.
And it's reflected in the viewers as well, because I have the opportunity to listen to Parliament and Joint Select Committees, and I realize there's a lot of crossover in between people who listen to Nationwide News and actually follow those sittings. Nationwide has cultivated quite an informed viewership, and I'm very proud of it.
Yes, one time, one of my daughter was talking to her. She said, you sound like Cliff Hughes. I said, what? She said, yes, Mommy. Because I was making a strident point to her, and then she just said, me just sound like Cliff Hughes, because I send them all the link overseas, for them to follow as well. Yes, so, Chevron.
Yes.
Northwest St. Catherine.
Yes.
I heard what went on outside that meeting. There is pure hype going on, Linstead has never seen so much development, not even when the 7-star general was here.
Is that where you're located?
Not quite. I go back and forth.
Okay.
But I'm saying the hospital, the police station is fixing. The health center is fixing. We have JUTC coming this side of the world. And remember, Bobby Pickersgill was Minister of Transport for years. Mm-hmm. The development in Linstead, great. It is welcoming.
I'm happy to hear that.
Come on, podium and a trace. That is all that is going on. Somebody says something in the Senate, you get on a podium and you cuss out the individual. Answer back. You call it answer back. Nothing. How are you going to move this country forward? Nothing of the sort. You're tracing. At one point, I remember Chris tell us when a certain female prime minister was around, a brebre politics going on, brebre. So who never know it, go research it, a brebre politics have gone because they have nothing else to say more than trace and bully. I want to use bad manism on this thing, and it ain't going to work. It ain't going to work. People are more informed. People understand the gimmickry that is going on today more than ever, because it's just a part of the PNP's in operation. The full PNP is just standing back and watching the performance, the comic opera that is going on. That's what is going on.
Let me ask you, Lady J, because you seem like you're familiar with that constituency. Do you think that the JLP can take it back? Well, not take it back, take it from the PNP, because you had Robert Pickersgill there from a long time, from 1989, and then Hugh Graham is now there, and Damien Crawford. Damien Crawford now is going to take over as the representative for the PNP. You think the JLP can win that one?
They can win, but they're not working in the constituency. That's their weakness, because JLP are here, but they are not on the ground working. I can tell you that. They are not. Since the last candidate lose, I don't think anybody have set sight on him. He's not on the ground here. A part of the constituency, I understand, is for Currency and Morrison. She don't touch this side of the world, none at all. But I hear her on the radio talking about Riversdale and all those places. They don't touch base with the people here. The roads are bad here. In Linstead, weeks ago, I heard they cut out some parts of the road. All know it's not fixed. All know it's not completed. Yeah, nobody lobbying. Yeah, so this constituency, if it is worked properly, they remember Hugo Graham won by only 53 votes,
Tell me something. Wasn't that the constituency that that former police
Amos? It's the Amos.
Newton Amos. That's the seat that he ran for the JLP, correct?
Yes, it is.
Yes.
Hugo won by 53. And since then, there's no connection. Since then, how many years? There's no connection here. Okay, with the JLP, neither Currency and Morrison, right? So, you see, but the people are willing to go out because these candidates, PNP candidates, come and they do nothing.
They just live off the glory of this former one that died named Jack Stevenson.
Because
Okay.
Carencia is a neighboring constituency. She's
Yes.
St. Catherine Northeast. Yeah.
Yes, and there's a section that is belongs to her. She don't come here none at all. None at all. They are in their separate towers. Okay? They're not connecting with the people. Not at all. Damien is here doing up and down and in schools and all over. Yeah? But this constituency can be won. So I don't even know who they're sending back here. But I'm going to check and find out if. But no groundwork is not going on here. None whatsoever on behalf of the JLP. None. None whatsoever. And the people here, when I see the development going on around in the constituency, Mr. JUTC, going to your town, and Mr. Pickersgill did not deliver that as a minister for 7-star general for this constituency. Never. The bridge close to his constituency office, it is in a bad condition. It needs repairs badly, nothing. Yeah. So you see, I don't know how the JLP does its thing. I don't know, but I am in and out of the constituency, but I see the development going on. I really see. I was so happy to see the bus. And I hope to take it one day, you know.
I think Cliff said it best. The JLP is too busy running the country to engage in the politics. And I suppose
but you see,
that
you
becomes
have
the problem.
but you have to have the officers in the constituency.
Your foot soldiers are very important
Precisely.
to sell your message.
Of course. That's it. So the work wouldn't be done without them. So I don't know how they're going to tackle this one because Damien is here. I don't know because, you know, he's all over the place, but he doesn't.
I see Will in the chat saying Newton Amos is still the caretaker for that constituency, the caretaker for the JLP.
Well, he has been sleeping since the last time he lost. Trust me. He has been sleeping since the last time he lost. So let's see. Let's see, bro. Let's see. Yes, and I just want to thank you all, you young people. Keep the ban of nationwide flying high. Yes, and factual reporting. Yes, I hope to hear from Clyde Williams. Yeah, and Lorna Green. I haven't heard from her. Halelia.
I remember Lorna.
Levy. Leighton Smith, you know, some of them can pop in. I heard some the other day. I was so happy. My boy Dennis Brooks.
They're all thriving in their own ways, ma'am. They're all around thriving in their own ways.
I know. But you see, right at nationwide, that's what I tell you, say, it's like a fireball. It shoots you to the sky, yeah? So continue working hard and doing good, okay?
Same to you. Thank you, Lady J, for being a loyal listener.
Yes, take care.
All right.
Well, I think Sanjay, it's been quite interesting. 20 years this organization has been around, and it has provided so many opportunities, as she pointed out, so many opportunities for so many people. When you hear the list of individuals who previously worked at Nationwide News and where they are today, you'd be shocked. Not just in governance. We have Stevie, who's over in Japan now, living her best life. And I said, wow, Stevie is talking Japanese too. And it's quite impressive how this organization has elevated so many Jamaicans to positions of power, both locally and overseas. And I'm sure we'll continue to do it. I told Ricardo when he reaches the position of Chief Justice in the country, that he should not forget me, and I'm going to call in a few favors when he finally gets there. So I'm proud. Yeah, that's true, but I'm proud to be part of this intellectual organization that has really helped develop Jamaica in such a way and helped develop so many Jamaicans who have had such a profound impact on the country. And it is really thanks to Mr. Hughes and his perseverance. I'm sure he will write his book when he has the chance, but what he has brought Nationwide through and what he himself has gone through over the years, it's quite an inspiring story.
Yeah, it is indeed. And for many individuals who have passed through Nationwide, it's an excellent training ground. It's an excellent way to hone your skills. There are so many different opportunities that are available once you pass through Nationwide. And some have passed through, as I indicated, and left, and many have also stayed. And it's an excellent place to work also.
But that's where we have to leave it, listeners. Thank you all for joining us on this journey. Marigold Weber, Willow Will, Marjorie G., Marjorie Roach, Betsy Powell, Josephine, Jacqueline Thomas, Sharon Forbes, Godfrey Smith, John Black, all of you, thank you for joining us. Thanks to our super producer, Dana Davey, our technical operator, Andrew Glenn, the Boogs Anderson, all my compatriots and friends in the newsroom led by the very capable Cara Powell. I'm Siobhan Campbell.
And just before we go, we have to pick up the teacher of the classroom, Marigold Weber. All the best and have yourselves a wonderful rest of the day. My name is Sanjay Lewis.
Who shops at Creative Building Finishes? You, the homeowner who creates